You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Hey, heard you're getting ready to move.
We just listed our house on the market.
Just make sure you have the right attorney.
Doesn't the real estate agent take care of all that?
They stay involved, but you want to make sure you have a great lawyer that's negotiating the terms, helping resolve inspection items, clearing up title issues, preparing the deed and other documents, and attending the closing.
The attorneys at Nauman & Associates in Elk Grove Village have decades of experience handling real estate transactions every day all over Chicagoland. NALawGroup.com.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. CNN's foremost data analyst Harry Enton recently declared Donald Trump the most influential president of this century. Enton backs it up with metrics on tariffs, immigration, and executive orders, but even that may sell short the breathtaking changes over the past 6 months. But influence goes beyond data and metrics. Trump has entirely changed the context and conversation at home and abroad. His tough trade negotiations exposed how trading partners exploited the U.S. Trump's decision to take out Iran's nuclear infrastructure reset calculations around the world on the projection of American power. Here at home, Trump has forced an end to DEI initiatives, fought sanctuary cities, and humbled higher education over its bigotry. Trump has also championed a major backlash against woke policies in the public and private sectors, with results already evident in corporate policies and product advertising. Trump may already be the most consequential president since Ronald Reagan. Imagine what he can do in the remaining 42 months.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from jeffbuysyourhouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At jeffbuysyourhouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or jeffbuysyourhouse.com.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
I'm the guy that never gives 5 stars because I never believe that anything is perfect. But I would give them 20 stars if I could.
Ernest Stellar Review belongs to QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative treatments. They came through when he badly needed relief for his aching knees, and doctors had told him that surgery was the only option.
What they're doing is cutting edge, and it really helps. And I'm a tough sell.
QC Kinetics is led by National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, a pioneer in this field. With 20 years of clinical work, tons of research, teaching, publishing in non-surgical natural pain treatments. These are the medical pros to trust.
I'm living my life basically pain-free from what I was dealing with, so I'm a happy camper today, no doubt about it.
QC Kinetics. Call today to see if you're a candidate.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Hey, I'm Steve Wyatt, and I want to invite you to the Wyatt Matters show, which airs every Sunday on this station. You can expect lively discussion and heartfelt reflection that will both entertain and inspire you. And if we do it right, maybe deliver some genuine laughter as well. We talk about not only what matters, but also why it matters.
Wyatt Matters, Sunday morning at 6 on AM 560. The Answer. Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with temperatures reaching a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by The Real Story with Jeannie Ives, powered by Breakthrough Ideas, Sunday evening at 7 on AM 560, The Answer.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and yeah, Big Balls does indeed seem to have the biggest balls of them all. I'm talking about Big Balls from DOGE infamy. You remember Big Balls. He was part of the team that sat down with Jesse Waters at the apex of the DOGE effort, led by, of course, Elon Musk.
People on LinkedIn take themselves like super seriously, and they're pretty adverse to risk. And I was like, well, I want to be neither of those things. So I said it, and honestly, I didn't even think anyone would notice.
Yeah.
So what do you
LinkedIn
do?
is so cringe.
What does Big Balls do? Right now, I'm working on some payment computer stuff. So one of our initiatives is to root out fraud and waste. And to do that, we started looking at the payment computers. And as mentioned earlier, there is no accounting of what payments actually go to in the payment computer. So you look at a specific line item, like $20 million, and you're like, okay, well, what is this money going to? And for the majority of payment systems, it's like, well, we don't really know. And
yeah, like, what? That would be the response.
Is this the most basic responses?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the most common response.
What do you say when people just say, I don't know?
Well, it's a huge cause for concern because the upstream thing, which is distributing the money, literally has no checks and no accountability to the actual American taxpayer. So it's a huge vector for fraud, waste, and abuse.
Do these people not respect taxpayer money?
I mean, there's no incentive to if you work in the government. I think the incentives will always decide the outcomes.
Pretty sharp 19-year-old software engineer. Edward Korestein is his Christian name. Big Balls his unofficial name. And we find out that two 15-year-olds have been arrested in connection with an attempted carjacking and beating. The carjacking and beating happened in D.C. They attempted to carjack a young woman, and as the story goes, and there are pictures associated with it, Big Balls saw what was happening, and he intervened to help her. Elon Musk tweeting a few days ago, a gang of about a dozen young men tried to assault a woman in her car at night in D.C. A DOGE team member saw what was happening, ran to defend her, was severely beaten to the point of concussion, but he saved her. So now Big Balls, I would change the S to a Z, Big Balls, has earned his moniker, has he not? Elon Musk responding to a Trump social post on the same topic. Crime in Washington, this is Trump. Crime in Washington, D.C., totally out of control. local youths in scare quotes, and gang members, some only 14, 15, 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, shooting innocent citizens at the same time knowing that they will be almost immediately released. They're not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them. But it's going to happen now. The law in D.C. must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Washington, D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run the city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. That, at least in part prompted by this incident involving Big Balls, acting in an honorable fashion to help a woman in distress, acting in an honorable fashion to be good, to compel members of Congress to be good stewards of our money, and acting as a private citizen consistent with the values of a sharp young gentleman. How about that? For all the criticism and who is this guy, all these adults heaping scorn on this kid because he's having a little fun with a sort of, closely held nickname, and they try to use him to, I guess, convey a sense of immaturity or recklessness, or 19-year-olds running the government, 19-year-olds deciding what happens at this agency or that agency, or certainly pointing to what should or should not be happening at this agency or that agency. How dare they? We are all accomplished adults. We are the Praetorian Guard for our democracy, and so on and so forth. Yeah, right. Well, the 19-year-old showed them up in the halls of power, and he showed them up on the streets, too, because what's the percentage of people who will render aid to a person having a health crisis, much less a person who is under assault from multiple people? Very, very small percentage. And Big Balls is on the right side of both of those numbers.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 5:38, that ghoulish Jim Acosta interview with a AI-generated version of a young man who was murdered in the Parkland school shooting some 7 years ago. Mentioned at the end of the show yesterday, didn't give you a chance to react because the reactions are coming in fairly swiftly, and the father who okayed Jim Acosta to do this is defending Acosta and pushing back against critics. We'll hear from him and take your calls at 5:38. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 68 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. after a DOGE staffer was reportedly assaulted.
Police say Edward Korestein was attacked by a group of people outside his car earlier this week. President Trump posted what appeared to be an image of Korestein after the assault on Truth Social. In the post, Trump said crime in D.C. is out of control and threatened that if the city doesn't fix the issue, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city. 2 people so far have been arrested in connection to the alleged assault of Korestein, a DOGE staffer who now works at the Social Security Administration. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The House Oversight Committee is issuing subpoenas to the Clintons in connection with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Besides the Clintons, former Attorneys General William Barr and Merrick Garland, as well as the former FBI Director James Comey, have been subpoenaed. The Republican-led committee has also subpoenaed the Justice Department to hand over any files related to the Epstein case, with the names of victims blacked out. This comes as the Trump administration tries to tamp down calls from the MAGA base for all the files to be released to the public, and after the Republican Speaker of the House sent lawmakers home before they could vote on the files being released. Tony Waterman, Washington.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Kyle started Blindster in 2010 to make quality, custom-made blinds affordable to everyone. Traditional window covering retailers are expensive. Blindster prices are low, and their blinds are guaranteed to fit. Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
If you've ever wanted to meet Larry Elder, Hugh Hewitt, Mike Gallagher, or Charlie Kirk, now's your chance. It's AM 560's Terrific Talkers VIP Experience Contest. Enter today for a chance to meet your favorite host and sit in on a live broadcast. The grand prize includes airfare and 3 nights of accommodations. Don't miss this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/VIP. That's 560theanswer.com/VIP.
Experience a luxurious summer when you visit Trump International Hotel and Towers, Chicago, a Forbes Travel Guide 5-star hotel. Take in stunning views of the Chicago skyline from the heart of the city, steps away from the iconic Magnificent Mile and the revitalized Riverwalk. Treat yourself to exquisite dining at Terra 16 Restaurant and Rebar Lounge, overlooking the Chicago River and Lake Michigan. Catch the Navy Pier fireworks display from Terra 16's patio on Wednesdays and Saturdays all summer long. Relax in immaculately designed suites that offer the utmost level of comfort. Refresh in the state-of-the-art spa featuring a 75-foot swimming pool, steam and sauna rooms, relaxation lounge, and more. The Trump Hotel Chicago offers sophistication and elegance to downtown Chicago and is a convenient travel destination for your summer getaway. Simply visit Trump Chicago online to make your reservations today and search offers to find the never settle summer stay. Book today.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
Nothing makes a gathering great like Eggland's Best Eggs. They're just so delicious with better nutrition, too. For us, it's eggs any style, as long as they're the best. Eggland's Best.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with a high reaching 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft. So, again, at the end of the show yesterday, I mentioned this sort of in passing. We didn't have a lot of time to delve into it or solicit your reaction. So I'm doing it now, particularly because Joaquin Oliver's father has responded to the controversy that this generated. Joaquin Oliver was one of the 17 people murdered in the 2018 mass shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. That gave rise to David Hogg's gun banning, pro-socialist politicking. Anyway, his father okayed disgraced former CNN propagandist Jim Acosta to do a interview with an AI-generated avatar of Joaquin. And, of course, he used that opportunity to push for banning guns. Do we have the yesterday's interview? Yeah, here we go.
I would like to know what your solution would be for gun violence.
Great question. I believe in a mix of stronger gun control laws, mental health support, and community engagement. We need to create safe spaces for conversations and connections, making sure everyone feels seen and heard. It's about building a culture of kindness and understanding. What do you think about that?
I think that's a great idea, Joaquin.
Weird. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. In addition to sort of shoehorning that identitarian pap into the visage of a 17-year-old young man who was murdered 7 years ago. Well, his father, Manuel, has responded to the criticism because it's come fast and furious. And interestingly, even like on Blue Sky, which is that social media platform for identitarian adult leftists who cannot consume any content they haven't been brainwashed to believe because they're defenseless, so they can't exist on X in its current more free and open dialogue format. So they all ran to a safe space, the bubble that is Blue Sky. Well, it's interesting to see the reactions because, of course, this is the left, a leftist echo chamber, the left talking to the left. Just a smattering. So unethical. He couldn't consent to the use of his likeness to deliver this message, though his father did. Another, you don't have an interview. You're facilitating a grotesque puppet show using grieving parents' heartbreak for a bit. The bar is in hell, and you still manage to trip on it. Grief makes you do crazy things. Acosta has no excuse, though. Hey, Jim, quick question. What the F is wrong with you? A tenor of the reactions. Well, here's Manuel Oliver defending Jim Acosta and this, well, to borrow a phrase, puppet show that he put on.
Hello, everyone. This is Manuel Oliver. I am Joaquin Oliver's father. Today, he should be turning 25 years old. And my wife, Patricia, and myself, we asked our friend Jim Acosta to make an interview, have an interview with our son, because now, thanks to AI, we can bring him back. It was our idea, it was our plan, and it's still our plan. We feel that Joaquin has a lot of things to say, and as long as we have an option that allows us to bring that to you and to everyone, we will use it. So stop blaming people about where he's coming from, or blaming Jim about what he was able to do. If the problem that you have is with the AI, then you have the wrong problem. The real problem is that my son was shot 8 years ago. So if you believe that that is not the problem, you are part of the problem.
If you believe that, well, as if the two are mutually exclusive, yes, it was obviously a problem that his son, along with 16 others, were murdered at high school, in a high school. Yes, we agree. But is this the best approach to deliver a message? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. It really, I mean, it's weird. It is. If you watch the exchange, you just have a still picture of him with a mouth that's moving, an AI-generated mouth that's moving and saying these canned things like you heard something Jim Acosta might say about banning guns come out of the mouths of this deceased 17-year-old, this deceased 17-year-old's avatar. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Boy, this could really open up a whole new area of quote-unquote journalism. You start, particularly if you get a responsible party's approval or sanction, you open up a whole new realm of this is what this person would have wanted to say on this topic, or this person was killed under these circumstances, and so now I'm going to create an avatar where they can comment on the circumstances in which they were killed as it pertains to making public policy generally. Do you have a visceral reaction to that in addition to an intellectual one? What does your sort of spidey sense tell you about the propriety of this? George in Naperville.
Yeah, Stan, what if they turn it around and they do it with the perpetrators of crime to torture the victims?
Great point, George. All those family members who, protest about a family member who was convicted of a heinous crime. Maybe they acknowledge that the family member was guilty, but that's not who he really is. And then yes. Jim in LaGrange.
So a couple things. I want to address the weirdness part. Wait till there's the ability for AI to pull from a database of a speech of that person, of any person, and it'll actually be that person's voice. It won't be some patched together response. And then the second thing is, I'm sorry, someone had to program the computer to provide that specific response, because I thought AI was supposed to provide several perspectives and opinions, not a definitive statement about with a certain question like that. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thanks, Jim. My understanding from just reading the accounts of this is that the parents created this AI version of their son, Manuel, and I don't know which other family members that may or may not have been involved, but he created this avatar and then reached out to you, as you heard him say, his friend Jim Acosta, to do this marionette show. You don't want to go after a grieving family member, and I'm not going after Manuel Oliver. But it's the larger question of, do you really want to go down this road? And also, even if a grieving father, 7 years removed nonetheless, wants to do this, there are people that are also, that have platforms that also would exercise their judgment and say, you know what, I appreciate what you're trying to do. I don't think it's the best way to do it. And so, even if I share your viewpoint or the viewpoint you're trying to express, this just isn't the way. At least I'm not comfortable with it. And so just in the interest of propriety and good taste, I can't do this. I can have you come on and talk about your own views and maybe what your son believed about this issue, to the extent he had fully formed opinions on it at 17, which some kids do. I did. But I'm just saying, it's a minority. But I'm not going to do this. it's all a bit grotesque. And maybe I wouldn't use those as harsh a words as those in talking to the father, but you have to convey that this just is not in good taste. That doesn't accomplish what you are trying to accomplish in terms of representing a particular viewpoint as to what you think should be done in the wake of your son's murder or what you think could have been done to prevent your son's murder. And we can talk about that, but I'm not going to do this. Clay in Libertyville.
Morning, Dan. I've taken a break from, news, and unfortunately you guys, I know, say it ain't so. And I actually had, I was like, you know what? I'm going to chime back in today, see what's going on, what everybody's talking about. And this is what I turned on. I mean, have they run out of talking heads to talk about this, that they must dig up the dead to talk about this stuff now? This is disgraceful, so untasteful. Oh, gosh. All right. I can't talk about this anymore. I am going to be like a turtle and shove my head back into its shell for a little bit. Love you, Dan. Oh, hey, I was down in Fort Myers. I played Babcock National, shot an 86, 46-40.
Not bad. Oh, good back. Very good.
Yeah, they got a new course going up there. You should give it a shot.
All right, thanks for the call, Clay, and the golf recommendation. Appreciate it. All right. Sorry, I didn't mean to, scare you back into your shell, but yeah, this is where we're at. It's just terribly exploitive, isn't it? And by the way, as I said, it's a sampling, but it's a pretty big sampling of the responses to this on Blue Sky. This seems to be sort of across the ideological divide in terms of people that are a little squeamish about this, find this, garish and unseemly. Gauche. Pat and Lockport.
Good morning, Dan. Yeah, I agree with you that it's grotesque. It's maudlin. It's sickening that you would prostitute the death of your son to get his quote unquote political viewpoints across. That is really stretching it. That's just a stretch too far, in my opinion. And not only that, going forward, whenever you listen to anything like this, what in the Sam Hill are you ever going to learn about real truth? These people are sick. They're just plain frickin' sick. Have a good day.
Thanks for the call, Pat. Chris on the Dan Ryan.
Yeah, hey Dan, this is it could be an educational thing too. Think about this: we could have Elvis in his later years, very fat, very unhealthy. He could talk about getting back into shape, stop eating donuts, and stop taking pills. So there is a better part about this. We have to look at it this way, Dan. Thanks, Dan. Bye.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Chris. Yeah, I mean, it's how far into this abyss do you want to go? I think George from Naperville talking about having convicted criminals or sociopaths resurrected to explain themselves. Yeah, and it's one thing if it's done. I mean, as again, distasteful as it is, it's one thing if it's done by a person that is close to them and it's just a average person. It's another thing when it sort of has this imprimatur. I mean, I know Jim Acosta's not a journalist, but a lot of people are still buffaloed. We're supposed to take him seriously because he was once at CNN, which is sort of a contraindicator of being taken seriously. But there are people, when you have a platform and you have, credentials behind you, I mean, it gives it a weight like this is legitimate if it goes by without, much pushback. People say, oh, well, because if it's popular, if it generates interest, even if it bleeds, it leads variety of interest, then, other people pick that up and it becomes something that becomes more prevalent and you get desensitized to, just like we're desensitized to the murder du jour in the city of Chicago. And that's not good. The whole thing is dehumanizing. ironically, because I think the father, I'm sure, had good intentions trying to humanize his son and keep his memory alive. And it seems to me that this gambit does exactly the opposite. So it's really quite sad. Mark in Rochelle.
Yeah, I just stepping back and thinking about this a little bit. I just think this is the general direction of society. All this feeling-based things that we're into, and a little tongue-in-cheek. It's like, how long before these AI are allowed to vote? Because we're feeling-based, and we're going that direction.
Right. Thanks for the yeah. Right. Joaquin's avatar is an accurate representation of Joaquin, who would be 25 today, and so and has very strong views on public policy matters, so should be able to cast a ballot. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's just silly enough to come to pass. Dennis in Villa Park.
Hi, I'm actually not Dennis in Villa Park anymore. I moved to Bridgman, Michigan, so I left.
Oh, there you go.
Soviet Republic of Illinois, went to the People's Republic of Michigan.
Lost Dunes territory.
Yeah, there you go. I pretty much agree with everybody about the thing is that what you put in is what you get out. I'm surprised they didn't say it was Trump's fault at the end on that. But if it's somebody like Will Rogers, where you have a lot of material where you could actually ask a question where he had an answer, yeah, then go for that. But otherwise, this is just like watching, might as well watch Looney Tunes.
Thanks for the call, Dennis.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant-supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Want to see if you could pay less in taxes? Try the quick and easy tax calculator at willsave.com. Yes, a free tax calculator. That's WILSAVE.com. Calculate how you could keep more of your hard-earned money and give less to Uncle Sam, especially in retirement. Get your free tax analysis today at willsave.com. And don't forget to tune in to Protecting Your Assets with Steve Shyman every Saturday morning at 8, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage. AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan, and just more reactions pouring in on this Jim Acosta interview. On X, Kevin Rooney. Today, Jim Acosta will interview Barney, where they'll discuss climate change and the extinction of dinosaurs. Yeah, that could be next. This is sort of an interesting question that was posed to me in a text. Would you interview an AI Bill Buckley? And I wouldn't, even though that's a closer call, because obviously with respect to William F. Buckley, you have his books and his speeches. But here's a concept. When it comes to sort of resuscitating the dead in the version of a digital seance, If I'm interested in getting Bill Buckley's thoughts on something, I'll go back and watch one of his speeches. I'll go back and watch an episode of Firing Line. I'll go back and read God and Men at Yale. And there's always that approach, too. You can actually just go back and review someone's body of work as opposed to do these kabuki theater presentations under the guise of journalism or advancing the conversation or whatever Jim Acosta thought he was doing by agreeing to participate in that. Yeah, it's just all it's just all very lowbrow. Because a technology exists doesn't mean that it should be deployed in every circumstance, right? This is where the human judgment comes in to say, is this a right and proper application of this technology? Because I have the ability to do something doesn't mean I should do it. The questions that are rarely asked in a society that is largely, as Mark from Rochelle said, that is, unfortunately, I think, generally populated with people that are unrestrained by their feelings. There is no governor on what they will do so long as it is based in their heartfelt feelings about something. The disconnect between the thinking through and the immediate reaction, the visceral reaction you have to something, which is why I say, you can cringe at this initially, but I wanted to talk about it, but let's talk it through and think it through. That's your initial reaction. What's the basis of that initial reaction? Use your words, use your brain, and let's see if we can come to something that is based in reason and, well, as I said, really, I mean, I don't want to be critical of the father, but reason and human dignity. The whole thing is rather undignified. Do you want your son to be remembered as this sort of one-dimensional Max Headroom spouting talking points of the left or right? Wasn't he more than that? Coming up at 6:06, we'll turn our attention to those flea-bagging Texas House Democrats. We've got a number of updates to get through, and our very own BLM Brandon has weighed in, at least with respect to the immigration piece of the Governor Abbott body of work. That's 6:06. It is now 6 a.m. AM 560 WIND.
Taking action against Democrats who took off. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton tells Fox they'll attempt to
remove them from office since they are not showing up to do their job.
Republican Governor Greg Abbott has taken the first step, filing a lawsuit trying to remove Democratic House Leader Gene Wu from office for leading the exodus of State House Democrats out of state to block a vote on congressional redistricting that could give the GOP 5 more U.S. House seats in the 2026 elections.
The more than 50 Texas Democratic lawmakers who fled the state, many of them to Illinois, are now getting support from the National Party. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom is preparing to call a special election to have voters approve a new congressional map that would eliminate some Republican districts.
That's Fox's Garrett Tenney in Chicago. Another attempt to stop the war in Ukraine. A special U.S. envoy meeting with Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
We are just 2 days away from President Donald Trump's new deadline for Russia to either stop the fighting or face new sanctions. And Steve Witkoff arrived in Moscow today for last-ditch efforts to try to reach some kind of agreement.
That's Fox's Alex Hogan. As the U.S. and Israel work to get more food to Palestinians in need in Gaza, Israel is considering expanding the war against Hamas and possibly taking over Gaza, occupying it, trying to get the remaining hostages released.
Eli David spoke to the UN Security Council Tuesday about his brother Eviatar being held hostage by Hamas. A recent video showed him emaciated, being told to dig his own grave.
Now those images haunt them. My father cannot sleep, and my mother has not stopped crying ever since.
Eli told the Security Council while the hostage families pressure the Israeli government to get the hostages released, he urged them to do everything they could to pressure Hamas.
That's Fox's Jessica Rosenthal. The biggest wildfire in California this year keeps burning in the central part of the state in the Los Padres National Forest. More than 83,000 acres have burned, 800 structures are threatened, 3 people have been injured. America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Governor Pritzker is considering a possible mid-decade congressional remap in Illinois. Speaking Tuesday alongside Texas state representatives and DNC chairman Ken Martin, Pritzker says redrawing Illinois congressional districts isn't something he wants to do, but everything is on the table in a fight against GOP redistricting efforts in Texas.
If they're going to cheat, then all of us have to take a hard look at what the effect of that cheating is on democracy. And that means we've all got to stand up and do the right thing.
Democratic Texas lawmakers have been in Illinois since Sunday to prevent Texas Republicans from voting to redraw a map that would give them 5 more seats ahead of the 2026 midterms. This has some scratching their heads saying, isn't this the same thing? And hasn't the state always been pretty much favored towards Democrats? The last member of the ComEd 4 is sentenced. A federal judge ordered Jay Dodry to serve 1 year in prison. He was convicted in a bribery scheme connected to former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Dodry and 3 others were convicted of conspiring to influence Madigan to benefit ComEd. He will also receive 6 months of suspended release after he serves his sentence. He's expected to surrender to authorities on September 30th. News is a service of Fox Valley Coins. Bring your gold or silver in store today. Each item is priced right in front of you. The coins never leave your sight. Receive cash or a check right on the spot. FoxValleyCoins.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher sees an issue with the math.
This Colbert story is wild. Watching the left melt down over CBS, getting rid of a show that is an albatross around their neck, $40 million a year, and you don't understand why they're pulling the plug? If the show was making $40 million a year, he'd be fine.
The Mike Gallagher Show, weekdays at 9, right before Charlie Kirk at 11 on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Hi, it's Scott Tucker, host of Retirement Dakota with Scott Tucker, heard on AM 560 on Sundays at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. I want to offer you a free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? To get your free copy of my latest book, Escape Illinois, Should I Stay or Should I Go? Just go to retirementdakota.com. That's retirementdakota.com. And please listen every Sunday at 8 a.m. and again at 5 p.m. on AM 560, The Answer.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 10 minutes. Outbound is about 17 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound is 16 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 20 minutes. Outbound is 21 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound is 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with temperatures reaching a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here on those FLEE bagging Texas House Democrats. As I said yesterday, when Governor Abbott was talking about sort of next steps, given the suggestion that maybe that he has the power to remove them from office for dereliction of duty and appoint their replacements, that in addition to civil arrest warrants that were issued that apply only to their presence within the corporate boundaries of the state of Texas, there could be potential criminal charges if there was evidence that they received some sort of monetary compensation for the action they took. So, for example, I theorized that maybe, for example, an Illinois governor named Pritzker say, well, if you want to walk out, then I'll send a plane down and you can come here so I can have, a big press conference for my own interests, trying to advance my flag for 2028 by being the most unreasonable, most hysterical Trump demagogue in the new Marxist Party, because that's who has potentially an inside track to the nomination, and that's what I'm interested in. I don't think he'd say that out loud, but that would be the perspective. But if he incentivized them to abscond in contravention of their responsibilities, because they're getting fined $500 a day. Well, why are those fines in place? Because you've broken the rules. So if he had done that, then maybe you have felony bribery charges, both the briber and the bribees. And wouldn't that be interesting to see Jelly Belly rolled into an orange jumpsuit? But again, that's just some wishful thinking at this juncture. However, there is movement. I mentioned this could be Abbott sort of laying out the escalating scale in terms of his options, remedies, punishments. Well, yesterday, he asked the state's highest court, and that's the state of Texas, Texas Supreme Court, to remove that Democratic House leader from office, Representative Wu, who we heard from at that press conference they held on Sunday night in Carroll Stream at the new Marxist Party's DuPage County headquarters, talking about how gerrymandering is racist and so on and so forth. I mean, it's racist when Republicans do it. Right, you got it. In addition to that, boy, I'll tell you what, nothing like a primary challenge. John Cornyn, of all people, Texas Senator John Cornyn, not exactly a conservative, bulwark in the Senate. Not the guy you see leading conservative reformers up the hill. John Cornyn asked the FBI yesterday to help find and arrest the Democrats. Trump later telling reporters that federal agents, quote, may have to, unquote, get involved, though he did not elaborate. Wow. Well, of course, the federal or FBI has federal jurisdiction That would be interesting. A little sting operation in Illinois and New York and wherever else they may be hiding out. And of course, you heard at the top of the news, Jelly Belly, like Newsom, because Newsom's getting in on this act. I don't think any of them are in California, but no, if you're going to do it, then we'll do it. And if Jelly Belly says he's going to do it, then Gavin's going to say he's going to do it, and Kathy Hochul's going to say she's going to do it, and Maura Healey's going to say she's going to do it. Everybody has to, again, out hysteric their competitor.
If they're going to cheat, then all of us have to take a hard look at what the effect of that cheating is on democracy. And that means we've all got to stand up and do the right thing.
Cheating. They want to do a remap that was instigated by a court decision. But because, they're really saying because it's gerrymandered in a way that they don't like, that's cheating. Even Jake Tapper, Jake Tapper, the whistleblower on the Biden cognitive decline cover-up. Yeah, right. Jake Tapper, CNN's Jake Tapper, even he had to concede this point about Illinois while turning his attention to Mao-Maoing the red states.
If you look at the map, right, you have some exceptions like Illinois. There's blatant Democratic gerrymandering. But most of the worst offenders when it comes to gerrymandering are Republican states, such as Texas.
No, that's not true. But at least you conceded the point about Illinois, which everyone knows, except apparently people who believe every word that Jelly Belly utters. The Wall Street Journal opining on the topic. Thanks to successive map drawing by Democrats with no GOP check, the state's districts are among the most gerrymandered in the country. Democrats control 82.4% of the state's House seats, though in 2024 they only won 52.8% of the House popular vote in those districts. The presidential election wasn't really contested in the state, but President Trump still got 43.5% of the vote. But there's 82% control of the congressional delegation by the Democrats. And we're just using, in this analysis, the argument that the standard that they are arguing should be the standard, the Jasmine Crockett's and the Jake Tappers and everybody. This is what you're setting forth as the standard to decide whether or not something is improperly gerrymandered and people's voices aren't being represented and the political will. Okay, well, if that's the standard, what's the percentage of the vote distribution, Democrats to Republicans, in House seats, House districts, statewide? And then what's the distribution of actual occupants of said House seats? That's what you're saying the standard is. Okay, well, you just heard Illinois, which is the worst in the nation. California, Republicans got 40% of the statewide vote. They have 17% of the seats. In Massachusetts, Republicans got 35% of the statewide vote. They have 0 congressional seats. Connecticut, 38% of the statewide vote. Republicans, 0 congressional seats. New York, 42% of the statewide vote, 29% of the seats. New Jersey, 43% of the statewide vote, 25% of the seats. Maryland, 30% of the statewide vote, Republicans, 12% of the seats. New Mexico, 44% of the statewide vote, Republicans, 0 seats. Hawaii, 30% of the statewide vote, 0 seats. Oregon, 42% of the statewide vote, 16 seats. Washington, 38% of the vote, 20% of the seats, 2 out of 10. Rhode Island, 38% of the statewide vote, Republicans, 0 seats. So are all those blue states problems too, or no? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. But, you got to get into the act. Jelly Belly, hey, if they're going to cheat, well, Governor Patrick Bateman out there in California is not going to let Jelly Belly have the stage by himself.
I haven't seen the maps, but we helped initiate those conversations. My team were part of those conversations last night. They've been an ongoing series of conversations that continued into the evening, continued this morning, and will continue until we land on a process. That process has to have the concurrence, the support of 2/3 of the legislature. The maps, we believe, should be transparent. They should be provided in a transparent way to the public. And as a consequence, those maps are being processed and will be brought to light. I have not had the opportunity, nor am I getting the details of what those maps look like. I'll allow more objective minds to do just that. But the ultimate...
Yeah, blah, 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 blah. We're going to fight fire with fire. Did anybody follow up with Patrick Bateman there? Say, Governor, 40% of the statewide vote, Republicans got, Trump got. If 17% of the seats. 40% of, the vote statewide and all the congressional seats, 52 of them. Only Republicans only have 9. Isn't that unfair? By your standard. Going to fight fire with fire. As I said the other day, go ahead, Jelly Belly. Go do a mid-decade remap. If you think you can draw better maps than Mike Madigan did, let's see it. You're going to do better than 14 out of 17 in Illinois? I mean, Darren Bailey 4 years ago against Pritzker got 58% of the vote south of I-80, which is where the 3 seats are, 3 Republican seats. Go ahead, draw a better map. Let's see it. I love the threatening. By the way, you want to have this gerrymandering war? Okay. I'm not a proponent of it, but okay. States considering redistricting for 2026, since you mentioned it, California, the handle is, this is, just probabilities. You have to actually have the elections, what things look like on paper and how they play out in the real world. Not always the same, but you get a sense. So Texas potentially could pick up 5 congressional seats. California Democrats could potentially pick up 5. But then Missouri, Republicans could potentially pick up 1. Indiana could pick up 1 to 2. Ohio could pick up 2. I'm talking about Republicans. Florida could pick up 3 to 5, and Texas 5, as I just mentioned. So you want to do a gerrymandering contest nationally? Okay, sure. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro. Answer line Frank in Tinley Park.
Did anybody ever think if you don't have the proper voter ID, picture ID, you could leave your fingerprint on the ballot, then make it a federal crime?
Okay. Thanks for the call, Frank. I think ID is sufficient. We're struggling enough to get to ID, but before we get to retina scans and so forth. Troy in St. John, Indiana.
Hey, good morning, Dan. Full agreement on JB the Hut. I mean, the Democrats do nothing but tear pages out of Saul Alinsky's book and always accuse your opponent of what you're doing. Disagreement on Republicans behaving as neo-Marxists. They've been getting their butt kicked in politics. Von Clausewitz said politics is war by less concentrated means, and you either fight it to a conclusion with the tools at your disposal, or you get what you've been getting.
Thanks for the call, Troy. Well said. Yeah, I mean, just the John Cornyn thing I mentioned, I don't think I closed the loop. Accountability is a funny thing. Political pressure is a funny thing, isn't it? John Cornyn is now calling for the FBI to intercede here with respect to those flea-bagging Texas House Democrats. You think he'd be doing that if he wasn't facing a serious primary challenge from the state attorney general, Ken Paxton? Obviously a challenge from the right, from the MAGA right. Now all of a sudden he wants in the fray. Corey in Woodlawn.
Hey, thanks for taking the call, Dan. I heard the quote, how fortunate it is for politicians that their voters don't read. I want to amend that quote a bit and say how fortunate it is for Democrats that the mainstream media is willing to lie for them 24 hours of the day. Because just a few years ago in Chicago, the Hispanic community was upset about the map that the aldermen were trying to get, well, they got it passed when they were trying to block them out of all of the seats that they were supposed to get in the city council. I mean, it's just so laughable for Pritzker to sit back here and take this route. It just makes my mind boggle.
Thanks for the call, Corey. It really does, because it really is. I mean, again, we have had, for those who have some institutional memory about Illinois, we've had movements leftist goo-goos and conservatives alike and aligned. We've had them on this show over the several cycles over the last decade, where you've had the movement for independent map making, for it to be computerized and drawn based on the principles set forth in Supreme Court decisions on the topic. Another one coming in October, as we've been talking about the backdrop of this, or at least oral arguments coming in October. The case will be heard and then next term. But it's coming. That may change the landscape too. But so the independent map initiatives, ballot initiatives, across party lines in terms of support. And the common denominator was Madigan and his cartographers, generally speaking, who drew these maps. Anybody can look at them and know what they're doing. Anybody could be paying passing attention to this discussion and know what the balance of power was. So who was responsible for the maps that we have and what the game is, both sides, but clearly the Dem socialist power structure in this state, much more skilled at the dark arts that we're discussing. So this is just, kind of everything gets memory hold, and this is just day one of history. And as long as this is in contravention to anything that Trump wants to do, or this is standing up, we're fighting fire with fire against Donald Trump and his authoritarian gambits across the fruited plain, then I guess some significant percentage of this state's population is good with it. I don't know how else to describe it. Now, the other problem, of course, is that outside of this program and a few other outlets, Pritzker and these professional prevaricators get a pass because there is no opposition party. So that's a problem. You can't have people understand an argument or understand a scam that's being run if nobody is making an argument or pointing out the scam. Not a one-man job. James Tallarico. Let's go back to him. He's become one of the spokeshumans for those flea-bagging Texas House Democrats. State rep. Again, I mentioned yesterday, recently on Joe Rogan's show, Joe Rogan wants him to run for president. So impressed. Here's Rogan's candidate for president on ABC trying to jujitsu the flood aid legislation that is also held up in addition to the maps because of their abdication.
And as you know, that means that there is other legislation that's going to be the victim of that. And that includes this bill for flood assistance for those Texans who were impacted by those devastating floods on July 4th. Are you concerned that all of this could ultimately be a mistake if that legislation also becomes a victim of this?
This is a Republican talking point. I'm concerned that Greg Abbott decided to play politics with flood victims and their families. The only emergency that we should be coming to the state capitol to address is flood mitigation and disaster prevention. That's what Texans want us to focus on. It's why my Democratic colleagues and I showed up on the first day of the special legislative session 2 weeks ago. We begged our Republican colleagues to prioritize flood victims and their families, and they refused.
But the reality is, Representative, the reality is the consequence of the decision, regardless of whether or not it's a talking point, is that this bill is not going to advance. Is that a bad thing if this bill doesn't advance?
And who put flood mitigation after redistricting on the agenda?
The Republicans. They control the floor. Exactly. They have made that decision.
Exactly.
But there will be consequences to your decision here, too. Will there not?
And you know why they did that is so that they could play politics with those flood victims, so that they could pressure us to give away our constituents' voices in the democratic process. They're using flood victims to try to get us to agree to these corrupt maps so they can rig the next election. We are not willing to sacrifice the American experiment. We begged them to prioritize flood victims, and they refused to do so. This is cynical politics at its worst.
Golly, I'm so impressed. Now I understand why Joe Rogan thinks he should be president. I said facetiously. You can walk and chew gum, can't you, Representative? So you could be there to fight the map. You know, vote your shares, buddy. That's how it works. Vote your shares. You don't have the numbers? Well, go get the numbers or cry about it. So you could be there to tackle flood aid legislation and probably come to a general agreement, I suspect, between the two parties there. And you can fight it out on the map, just as Republicans would have to be doing if they were in the minority in Texas, but they're not. Isn't that how you mentioned something about the American experiment? Isn't that how Representative small r Republican government works? Or am I confused? Perhaps a tutorial. So impressive. Mark, Northwest Indiana.
Hey, Dan, thanks for taking the call. You know, when we talk about, the redistricting, how it advantages one, and then, of course, disadvantages or hurts the other side, it's the same thing happens in Electoral College. I grew up downstate Illinois. There's virtually no voice down there. When the Electoral College, when they want to abolish it on the Democratic side, I would take a long-term argument or a fight. Say, how about we reapportion it? I grew up in Hancock County. Maybe it's a 0.5 of the Electoral College vote. Donna County 0.5 versus giving all of the winner takes all apportionment. That way, those people in these counties have at least a say at the federal level. And it's a long-term fight. I think it's worth taking up.
Interesting. All right. Thanks for the call, Mark. By the way, I'll give a gold star to anybody who knows the source of the term gerrymandering. Where did that come from? Don't Google or grok it either. You got to be like a Frank from Arlington Heights. You have to know it because you're steeped in American history. 312-642-5600, turnkey.parental. And speaking of Jelly Belly, going back to him, I suppose, one of the things that's fun about this melodrama that's playing out, and it's going to play out badly for Texas House Democrats, but that's okay. I can wait. But one of the fun things about this is my 2028 presidential ticket is coming into clearer focus. Tubbs and Crockett, Crockett and Tubbs. Jasmine on the scene.
I am Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, but I am standing here with one of my faves right here, honey. Yes. Listen, and guess what? Neither one of us are in Texas. You know why? Because we know that it is time to stand up, rise up, and fight back against these fools that think that we're weak. One thing that they should know, when it comes to a black woman and a Latina, that's right, they're about to get a little spice, okay? And that's exactly what they got. So right now we are fighting for our rights in this country. We are fighting for democracy. And I just want y'all to know that I'm standing 10 toes down with my homie, the representative from the great state of Texas. That's right.
What's your name again? Standing 10 toes down with my homie. So impressive, just like James Tellerico. So talented. I can see why she's a rising star in the ranks of her Dem Socialist Party. Now, also, too, we get the full hit parade. The state legislators that are rising stars like Tellerico and Crockett. And, of course, you can't have a conversation about Texas politics, particularly about the Dem Socialist contingent in Texas politics, without the good congressman from Houston, Al Green, the cane shaker. He ain't done.
There are no circumstances that will prevent me from continuing to challenge the bigotry emanating from the presidency and policy. I will not stop, and I promise you, this president is going to, he's going to be brought down. Yeah. He's going to be brought down. He has to be brought down. And I don't mean physically. I'm talking about politically. We will bring him down. he will be impeached again. I thank you.
I thank you, sir. I'm so in love. I don't have the chops for it.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
You need a construction company, but who?
Call Croscom.
A construction company you can trust that shares your Christian and conservative values. For decades, Croscom has been doing work in Chicagoland, Northwest Indiana, and Wisconsin. Roofs, siding, windows, doors, gutters, basically everything for your home or business, even solar. Quality work and professional services that make you feel great about your decision to work with Croscom.
Call Croscom.
630-871-5500. Give them a chance to earn your business. If your repairs are due to storm, fire, or flood damage, you need to
call Croscom.
They're licensed public adjusters. They work for you, not the insurance company. Croscom will work to get you the money you deserve, the maximum payout. They know the insurance companies and how to deal with them. They win for you.
Call Croscom.
Croscom Construction and Public Adjusters.
This is Dan Lights with Croscom. You can trust us with your home or business for high quality work and fair prices. It's the only way we do business.
630-871-5500. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. On my question about the genesis of the term gerrymandering, text from 847, Eldridge Jerry, Massachusetts, I think. I'll give you partial credit. It's Elbridge Jerry. It is Massachusetts, but I want more. That's the namesake, but how did Elbridge Jerry's name become associated with or turn into the term gerrymandering? That's for your A-plus students. All right. See if anybody's got it at 6:36. And also, we haven't done one in a while. It's time. A Dan Proft parenting tip. 6:36. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 69 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's working to make sure wildfires don't disrupt the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Speaking from the White House, Trump said Governor Gavin Newsom has to allow more water to flow into California from the Pacific Northwest.
I've been fighting with them for a long time about allowing the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, essentially.
Trump also said California's protection of the Delta smelt has to stop. He blamed the efforts to protect the species for the devastating Los Angeles wildfires in January.
They have a lot of water. They send it out into the Pacific Ocean in order to protect the smelt. It's a little tiny fish.
Many homeowners are starting to pull their properties off the market as would-be buyers push back on higher home costs. According to Realtor.com, the rate of delisted homes increased by 47% nationwide in May compared to last year. Experts say the delisting surge is partially due to the overall expansion in active inventory. Home inventory hit a new post-pandemic high, and sellers aren't in as much of a rush to accept lower than their desired amount. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Join John Anthony, host of Black and Right, for a cruise on Lake Michigan, Saturday, September 6th. Come aboard the luxury yacht Free Spirit for a fun afternoon with fellow AM 560 listeners. Enjoy great food and beverages and be a part of the live broadcast of Black and Right with John Anthony. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/cruise. That's 560theanswer.com/cruise.
Why don't we do one of those one-day bathroom remodels?
Well, because I don't want a generic bathroom that looks like it belongs at a campsite.
Fair. I'd love something that fits us. A bigger shower, safety grab bars, better lighting, heated floors.
Let's go with Forever Remodeling. There's no templates. Every design is unique and exactly what we want.
At Forever Remodeling, no two bathrooms are ever the same. Visit Forever Remodeling today at foreverremodeling.com. That's the number 4everremodeling.com. And tell them AM 560 sent you.
When I started skiing, I didn't think about setting any records. When I won my first race, I didn't think about how many more I might win. So when I made it to the top of the world, it never crossed my mind to stop. Being the best isn't the same as being your best. There are no shortcuts to the top, so find the people who help get you there. I'm Michaela Schifrin, and that's what Team Stiefel means to me. If you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stiefel, where success meets success.
Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Are you looking to hire? ZipRecruiter finds the best candidate for your job fast. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. ZipRecruiter.com/free.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 10 minutes. Outbound is about 17 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 13 minutes. Outbound is 16 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 20 minutes. Outbound is 21 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound is 11 minutes. This report is sponsored by Blindster.com. Blindster.com sells custom blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices. Their blinds are handcrafted to fit your windows, and if they don't for any reason, they'll remake them for free. Your satisfaction is always guaranteed at Blindster.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with a high reaching 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
It's time for Dan Prof's parenting tips. Whoa! Dan Prof's parenting tips. Whoa! Tell your kids to shut up and listen to him.
You're a child. Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. We'll get to the parenting tip momentarily. We have a tie. I'm going to call it a tie between the 773 and the 630. Dave from Geneva identified as the 630. And my question about the genesis of the term gerrymandering. noted that it was Elbridge Gerry, a founding father, a signatory to the Declaration of Independence. He did not sign the Constitution because didn't have Bill of Rights. One of two, I think, who did not. But anyway, he governor of Massachusetts, I mentioned, VP of James Madison. Gerrymandering comes from him, and how did it become gerrymandering? Well, both Dave and Texter from 773 got it. One of the districts in the map drawing that was done looked like a salamander, winding around to pick up constituencies. And so gerrymandering, that's basically it. And an interesting aside, he did not really like the idea of gerrymandering, and now he's stuck with it for time immemorial. But he did it anyway, sort of as a acquiescing to his party for political advantage. And we've been doing it ever since, haven't we? Right up until present day. Okay. Very good. Very good. Educated audience. Steeped in American history. Appreciate that. Dan Proft's parenting tip. This was sparked by a piece in the Journal. Goodbye Gentle Parenting. Hello FAFO Parenting. Boy, there's a political overlay to this conversation. F around and find out parenting. The era of the participation trophy is over. Gentle parenting. Wanting your kids to be your friends. Over. So it's argued. But is it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Carla Dillon tried lots of ways to discipline her rambunctious 13-year-old, including making him write the same contrite sentence 100 times, which she learned that from The Simpsons. But when he sprayed her with a water gun at a campground after she asked him not to, she saw only one option. She threw him in the pond, clothes and all. Some of the best lessons in life are the hard ones, she said. Yes, indeed. That's FAFO parenting right there. Into the pond you go. Gentle parenting that has shaped Gen Z is falling out of favor. FAFO parenting, simple concept. Parents can ask, parents can warn, but if the child crosses the line, you have to bring the consequences. Won't bring your raincoat, walk home in a downpour. Didn't feel like having lasagna for dinner, survive until breakfast. Left your toy on the floor again, go find it in the trash under the lasagna you didn't eat. That's FAFO parenting right there. Per this piece, parenting that's light on discipline has dominated the culture in recent decades. But the counter-revolution, if you will, against gentle parenting is coming from people who see that maybe Gen Zers didn't turn out as rugged as we had hoped. Young adults struggling with workplace relationships, suffering from depression and anxiety. Although we discussed this a bit the other day with Professor Ferguson from Stetson about this this suggestion that there is heightened anxiety among young people as compared to older cohorts, and it really doesn't. It's really not borne out in the numbers. So maybe that's something that is a bit of a new wives' tale. It's something that we have heard enough, and we focused on the problems of kids with anxiety and even suicidal ideation because they're kids. And you want to do something about it. I get it. And you sort of don't pay attention to what's going on in other adult cohorts, age cohorts. And but so maybe that's not as much of a thing as people think it is. I mean, it can be a thing for, your kid or somebody of course, but it's just in terms of generally speaking. The FAFO, tough love, authoritative parenting, or as Mom Dillon, who threw her son in the water after he Squirt Gunder. Out-feral their feral. Yes. Civilizing the wildings. Yeah, okay. To some, the parenting debate reflects a divided country. The paradigm of gentle parents versus FAFO parents isn't quite snowflake kids versus MAGA kids, but there's a whiff of that, certainly in style. John Wellington is a stand-up comedian from Somerville, South Carolina. He recalled when he and his brother misbehaved, they had to stare into each other's eyes while their parents simultaneously spanked them. He thinks that's excessive, that it's excessive that he made his... He hardly thinks it's excessive that he made his high school daughter go to color guard practice after she realized she hated it. In the real world, when you commit to a loan or a car payment or a house payment or even a marriage, you have to finish that thing until it's over with. Stick-to-itiveness. Andrea Mata, clinical child psychologist who offers a webinar entitled Gentle Parenting Doesn't Work, practices her own version of FAFO. Recently, her 8-year-old son kept having accidents in what she thought was him intentionally disregarding the urge to go to the bathroom during a fun activity. After attempts to correct it, she told the boy to take his allowance and buy himself new underpants. This is a bit extreme. She later discovered the problem was actually related to a medical issue, which was resolved, and has since apologized to him. But she didn't reimburse him since he lied about it and tried to cover it up. And she stands by the idea of repercussions when children intentionally fall short of expected behavior. Now, on the flip side, Dr. Becky, who is a gentle parenting proponent, nonetheless sees FAFO working. All that mindful adulting has robbed parents of their freedom and left them tiptoeing around their children's feelings. She argues a gentle style doesn't advocate for those things, but it's been distorted in a culture that thrives on extremes. There's just a very old idea somehow feelings kind of get equated with raising snowflakes, like feelings are weak, and they don't have to necessarily be. Well, you can feel your feelings, but it's sort of the lines that are drawn and the values that are transmitted, right? Like having to stick to something that is distasteful, but you committed to it and now you're in it and now you're going to finish it. Now, a counter example to the counter revolutionaries in the field of parenting. A mom from Ontario, Canada, Madison Barbosa, who's 31, 2 small children. If my kids are ever in trouble, I don't want them to say, Mom's going to be so mad at me. People feel weird about creating a generation of soft kids, and in my opinion, would that be so bad? Would it? Has it been? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Yeah, this is, I don't know. Again, as someone who can't, if you can't, you teach, right? So that's what I do here with parenting tips. You just work through the logic of it. Is it really that complicated? I mean, yeah, at least in terms of conceptualizing what you want to do, what you're trying to accomplish. On the one hand, yeah, of course you want a trust relationship with your kids so they can come to you if they're in real trouble. On the other hand, you can also simultaneously lay out those lines that they understand shall not be crossed without consequence and enforce the lines that you laid out. You set the rules. Everybody knows what they are. You help to develop your kids' own sense of right and wrong, their own moral conscience, and they know when they did wrong. And of course, they're going to try to get away with it. And when they don't get away with it, they have a pretty good idea that it's unlikely they're going to get away with it. I mean, I don't know if we have to get into these great philosophies of FAFO versus gentle parenting. Yeah, right. Yeah, your kids are allowed to have their feelings, and they're going to. That's going to happen. It's not like it's something you can negate. It's how you handle it. It's the old saw about trying to either prepare the road for your kid or prepare your kid for the road called life. And I think the prevailing wisdom is that you're never going to be able to prepare the road, so you better prepare the kid. And that seems to me the hybrid approach that is being taken by those parents that are now a little bit more FAFO oriented and a little bit less persuaded by the participation trophy culture and what that has begotten. So, not mutually exclusive. And, I don't know. I was having this conversation with a friend of mine the other day. Maybe I've already shared this. I'm getting old. I'm starting to repeat my stories. But just talking about going to Catholic school growing up and getting word from his father right from the start. Listen, you get in trouble at school, just understand that whatever the priests or nuns say you did, I'm going to agree with them. I don't want to hear it. So you're going to get punished at school, and then you're going to get punished 2 times over at home. And that's how it's going to work. Okay. And he said one time, priest, hit him. I mean, not like closed fist beat him up, but, gave him a whack on the ass or whatever. And he's like, and to this day, and he's older. Like, I didn't do anything wrong. I literally, in that case, I did not do anything wrong. I was, wrongly accused. But the point, there's going to be some times where things are a bit unfair. There are levels of unfairness and there are levels of consequences so that you want to rectify something that is unfair. But in that instance, more of a teachable moment, even if he comes home and says, Dad, I got unfairly punished for something I didn't do. The better part of valor in that situation, as I understand it from him, was just saying nothing about it and hoping none of the school staff said anything about it either. So he didn't get 2X at home. Yeah. FAFO parenting, with some reason attached. It's not one size fits all. It's not, a checklist. That seems to me the other thing that's lost in all of these conversations and been lost in society generally. We lament this all the time. Zero tolerance policies at school. And, the idea that we have policies and procedures, so it absolves us of the need to think critically and make decisions where the circumstances had not been contemplated by the policies and procedures. You got to make judgment calls as an adult, which is also, frankly, something that should be transmuted to the next generation.
Before you see it on TV, share it on Facebook, or read about it in the paper, hear it here first. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Pluto TV.
Join the fight against Charcot-Marie Tooth disease at the Cure CMT Golf Challenge. CMT is a genetic disorder causing muscle weakness and sensory loss, impacting daily life. There's no cure yet, but your support can change that. For $5,000, your foursome gets 18 holes at the stunning Merritt Club in Libertyville, Illinois on August 18th, plus lunch and dinner. Check in at 10:30 a.m. Help fund treatments and research. Visit cure-cmt.org to register today. Cure CMT Golf Challenge. Swing for a cure.
The following advertisement includes a celebrity impersonation.
The summer heat in Chicagoland is no joke. And if your old air conditioner is making funny noises, you may already know it's time for a new unit.
Look, your air conditioner, it's a disaster. People are telling me it's the worst ever.
Don't sweat it, literally. When it comes to cooling your home, Air Right Heating and Cooling does it the best.
And they love our country.
Beautiful people.
Rebates are still available, financing is flexible, and at Air Ride, installations are smooth and professional with no surprises.
It's beautiful. Some people say it's the coolest air anyone's ever felt. I don't know. That's just what they're saying. It's doing an incredible job. Really tremendous.
Plus, tell them AM 560 sent you, and Air Ride will give you $56 off any service. Visit Air Ride Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Ride Heating and Cooling, doing it right since 1959.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind, to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-822-1716. 800-822-1716. 800-822-1716.
AM 560, The Answer.
Kevin in Austin, Texas. Quickly, Kevin.
So I had a friend of mine who had a daughter the same age as mine, and we talked about disciplining our child. And then we said, yes, we're going to spank. So I only had to spank her once. And then once the friend was over, and I was doing a countdown. So, 1, 2, 3, then you get a spank. So I'm doing the countdown, 1, 2, and then the friend jumps in and says, my dad says 2.5.
Thanks, Kevin.
Can he convince Vladimir Putin to stop the war? I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News Special Envoy Steve Witkoff talked to Russia's leader this morning in Moscow ahead of a U.S. deadline to work out a ceasefire in Ukraine or face economic punishment.
Russian officials claim that they're skeptical that new U.S. sanctions will have an impact. Still, if no deal is reached by Friday, President Trump has floated two kinds of consequences: new sanctions on Russian imports to the U.S. and secondary tariffs, meaning tariffs on countries importing Russian energy. And that could impact major players like India and China.
Fox's Alex Hogan. Iran executed a seventh alleged Israeli spy today, accused of helping Israel target a nuclear scientist killed in the June military operation to damage Iran's nuclear program, as Israel defends its war in Gaza amid international criticism of starving Palestinians.
Israel facilitating huge amounts of aid into Gaza. No other country acts this way in war.
under such difficult circumstances.
That's Foreign Minister Gideon Saar as Israel considers escalating the war against Hamas to get the remaining hostages released and maybe occupy Gaza. Dozens of Democratic state lawmakers in Texas remain out of state, including Carol Alvarado.
You all heard the game Texas Hold'em. Well, we are literally holding the line on democracy, not just for Texas, but for our nation.
They fled to block a vote on congressional redistricting that could give Republicans 5 more seats in the House in the 2026 elections in Texas. Republican Governor Greg Abbott has filed a lawsuit trying to remove the state House Democratic leader from office. President Trump says,
in a certain way, it almost looks like they've abandoned the state. It looks very bad. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Should the FBI get involved? Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to.
Another immigration detention facility will be built, joining the controversial Alligator Alcatraz in Florida. This one will be in Indiana, called the Speedway Slammer. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem tells Fox it'll house those ICE arrests.
They will be processed and go through due process.
America's listening to Fox News.
WIND, Chicago.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Mayor Johnson is painting a bleak picture of Chicago's finances. Johnson said the city has reached a point of no return as it faces a massive $1.1 billion budget gap in 2026.
The systems that people rely upon, education, healthcare, housing, our transportation, they are woefully underfunded. And everyone knows that. Everyone knows what, my commitment is to progressive revenue. I can't do this by myself.
His comments came in response to a question about a pension bill signed last week by Governor Pritzker that will add more than $11 billion to Chicago's long-term pension liability. Johnson said the state needs new progressive revenue options. Dozens of people face charges following an operation targeting trafficked guns and machine gun conversion devices in Chicago. Officials say Chicago police and the ATF and other agencies worked together on months-long operation. Authorities used intelligence data to target suspects who illegally possessed and trafficked firearms and machine gun conversion devices. As a result, 41 suspects were arrested and 171 firearms and 64 machine gun conversion devices were recovered. State Attorney General Kwame Raoul is standing behind Democratic Texas lawmakers in Illinois. Raoul released a statement saying Texas law enforcement doesn't have the authority to hunt down and make arrests of Texas legislators in Illinois based on a civil arrest warrant issued by the Texas House. News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants with medical PPO insurance? It's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Town Hall News, where conservative voices cut through the noise from breaking headlines to fearless opinion. We report what matters without apology. Written by people who actually believe what you believe. Town Hall tells the stories the corporate press buries, from President Trump to Capitol Hill, from pivotal elections to your everyday lives. Join the movement at townhall.com. Real stories, real reporters, real conservative media.
When it comes to industrial coating and finishing, cutting corners isn't an option. That's why leading manufacturers across the Midwest trust D&D Industrial Coatings in Racine, Wisconsin. From powder coating and liquid painting to blasting and custom finishing, D&D Industrial delivers top-tier protection and performance, fast, precise, and built to last. With over 40 years of experience, ISO-certified processes, and state-of-the-art lines, D&D handles everything from OEMs and petrochemical to agriculture, marine, construction, medical, and government specs. Family-owned, nationally trusted. Whether it's a short run or high volume, your parts are in expert hands, finished on time and finished right. Visit them today, ddindustrial.net. Again, that's ddindustrial.net. Or call them at 262-637-0686 to get your custom quote today. Again, that's 262-637-0686. D&D Industrial Coatings. Engineered to protect. Finished to impress.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. 800-422-1609. Or simply visit godra.com.
From the Team Hawkburg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 26 minutes. Outbound, 29 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 27 minutes. Outbound, 23 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 31 minutes. Outbound is about 28 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is 10 minutes. This traffic update is quickly delivered by Quick Delivery Service. For reliable same-day delivery, Quick Delivery will customize a logistics plan to pick up your items and move them safely to their destination. Trust their 40 years of experience for peace of mind. Get a quote at quickdelivery.com. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with a high reaching 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. BLM Brandon, recently at Operation Push, one of the few places he'll find a friendly audience. I had this to say about, Chicago's status as a sanctuary city inside the sanctuary state that is Illinois, and who the real enemy is.
Not to say that people cannot be upset. I'm just saying that anger was never applied to the 30,000 Ukrainians that the federal government attached hundreds of millions of dollars to so that they could find refuge here in the city of Chicago. But yet when more melanated individuals were being bussed here, the federal government didn't do anything, and then everybody had a problem with immigration except for when it comes to those who are being migrated here from Europe. These people are trying to run a scam on us. Our enemy is not Central America. It's not South America. It's not the continent of Africa. Our enemy is white supremacy, and we have to unite in defeating that monster.
All Our enemy is white supremacy. It's not South America, not Central America, not Africa, which is, the sort of race hustle you're going to get from a race hustler. Did anybody ever say anything about Central America, South America, Africa being our enemies? No. We said that open borders allows people in this country who shouldn't be in this country to do bad things in this country. That's what we said. That's the position. But he's going to continue to talk all around it because that's what race hustlers like Brandon Johnson do.
The governor of Texas, who sent thousands of brown people all over the country, and no one took their anger out on him. He spent over $200 million to bus people across this country to divide our communities. Why would we allow white supremacy to rear its ugly head to continue to divide our communities? President Joe Biden said the greatest threat to our democracy is white supremacy. To this question around how we invest in people, we have literally spent 20 times the amount on black folks, so much so that I'm under investigation by the Department of Justice because apparently I'm investing too much in black people. They're trying to have it both ways. They want to judge me for investing in black people and then criticize me for investing in indigenous people who are already on this land in the first place. And you want me as a black man to be mad at brown people after what white supremacy is doing? Let's not be tricked or fooled by the individuals that benefit from our division. The Trump administration has literally shifted the largest concentration of wealth into the hands of the ultra-wealthy, and you want me to be mad at poor people? And just for the record, not one migrant got a check from the city of Chicago. In fact, most of the individuals that supported the migrant mission were black-owned businesses.
Yeah. Well, that's all very interesting. Couple things. First of all, if we had, and when we have, people from Eastern Europe, from Ukraine, in this country committing crimes, in this country illegally committing crimes, we'll say the same things about them. We do, actually. So if a headline this week was 2 migrants detained in Chicago gun running, drug sting tied to Venezuelan street gang. If it was instead 2 migrants detained in Chicago gun running, drug sting tied to Ukrainian street gang, we'd have the same reaction. Nice try, though. It's about the behavior, not the country of origin. But nice try. We didn't write any migrants a check. By your own admission, it burned before a House committee, BLM Brandon. You remember that? Remember before the House committee? You put or sort of acquiesced to the numbers that have been reported in the hundreds of millions of dollars, actually probably approaching $1 billion in the city of Chicago, but probably something approximating your budget deficit. But anyway, and it's multi-billions at the state level in Illinois, too. Also no checks, but shelter and medical care, Medicaid coverage. I mean, those turn out to be pricey. So that's real benefits being distributed, financed by other people's money. American citizens being forced to pay for the housing and health care and schooling of people in this country illegally. Those are material benefits. You understand the concept? No, I know you don't. But it's a great jumping off point to have a conversation because he takes such an extreme position and he's so morally indignant about it that sort of opens the door to a matter-of-fact, real-world response that hopefully will get more people thinking a little bit, particularly since most of Chicago does not feel he's doing a particularly bang-up job. They may be more open to rational thought again than they would be if they actually liked the person who was preening on, like you just heard. For more on this topic and others, Thomas Weitzel joined us, retired chief of police, formerly chief of police for the village of Riverside. Tom, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
Hey, good morning, Dan.
The white supremacy thing, white supremacy is the greatest threat. We talk about this quite a bit, but I mean, it's just interesting because, of course, the police force is like the military is one of those things where, despite the racial politics that infects police too, because of the politicians, the civilian authorities. But in terms of the actual conduct on the job, I mean, it's a colorblind job. It's a behavioral job, both in terms of your fellow officers working together and in terms of what you need to do to maintain public safety on the streets.
Yeah, for sure. Some of what I heard the mayor say in your previous tape there is just ridiculous. In fact, it's a blatant lie. There was a national study done by the International Association of Chiefs of Police said over 85% of police calls nationwide are police responding to 911 calls or citizens calling the police. They're not self-initiated. Okay, so they're responding to residents calling them. It doesn't matter whether you're calling the police because you think somebody is in your backyard because they're Hispanic, white, African American. They're responding. They're not to make it seem like the police are racist and that they're initially doing self-initiated activity is a blatant lie.
This story too. I mean, just in terms of what we're dealing with here and what he's trying to distract attention away from, Pritzker too. These stories. Over and over again. 8-time felon on an ankle monitor shot 2 women in what officials called, quote, an incredibly violent crime. Already on GPS ankle monitor for pending felony case, charged with shooting 2 women in North Lawndale. Now faces 2 counts of attempted first-degree murder. I mean, I know everyone deserves a 9th chance, and this one didn't work out so great. But the 2 women in North Lawndale, the victims too. I mean, always talking about the concept of black and white supremacy and so forth. So who speaks for all the black victims like these 2 women? Well, nobody in the power structure in the city of Chicago or the state of Illinois, it seems.
No, they don't. You don't ever see any news media interview victims or victims' families and say that they want more policing or they want better policing or that the officers were doing their job or anything like that. It's all slanted, and this electronic monitoring. All you have to do is follow like CWB Chicago and look at every single week, Dan, and every single week there's a case of a violent act where the offender is either on electronic monitoring, early release, essential movement days, which are ridiculous. I mean, every single week, and there's no appetite in Springfield to do any modifications to the Safety Act. In fact, I don't even see police leadership standing up and saying enough's enough. Like, we need to have some type of modification in this bail system. It just isn't working, despite what you might hear from advocates. Okay, that data is incomplete and it's not. It doesn't take in the whole state. So to me, it's just outright lies for political gain.
Something else that you've been particularly focused on, the Protect and Serve Act. The violence against police. We've talked quite a bit lately about violence directed at ICE officers, which is a thing. But, of course, we've had some tragic killings of police, the mass shooting in Manhattan, the response to domestic in Kansas City. So those stories, too, need to be amplified in terms of an understanding of what police are up against in some of these urban centers, particularly when the civilian authorities are of the sort of a Brandon Johnson.
Yeah, for sure. Most of the notoriety comes from police officers killed in the line of duty so far this year. There's been 26, but there's been 196 police officers shot in the line of duty as of yesterday. There's been 44 ambush attacks against officers. And, of course, they had these ambushes that just took place in Ohio, Kansas, and as you spoke earlier, in New York. So there's the Protect and Serve Act was actually approved in 2018, but it never got past both houses. But right now, it's being upheld by Senator Cory Booker, who you may know is a Democrat from New Jersey.
Yeah, oh yeah. Familiar with
He's on the Senate. He's on the Senate Judiciary Committee, and he alone is upholding 5 bills because he publicly stated he wants to force the federal government to give money to sanctuary cities, and he does not like the ICE funding. So he's going to hold up 5 pieces of legislation that affect every law enforcement agency in America, including local. It's both federal law enforcement and local law enforcement, and he will not let it go for a vote, even though both houses passed it bipartisan during police week. So during police week in May, these bills were proposed, and he supported them in May.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's, the Black Lives Matter playbook, and that's what Cory Booker's a part of. There's no question. In addition to just really identitarian politics, because it's the sanctuary cities and states, the Black Lives Matter race hustle that you see Brandon Johnson do as a matter of course. That's all they sort of have at this point. When you talk to police, do you sense that there is there's any sort of turn coming, or are things just going to continue to, in their estimation, sort of slowly deteriorate the way they have been now, despite the fact that we have, crime stats in Chicago and around the country that you've definitely seen a dip in murders, at least, and to some extent shootings in Chicago and around the country. But I mean, these are still particularly violent cities. We mentioned at the outset of the show this attack that occurred in D.C., and it's drawn the attention of President Trump and others because it was a DOGE employee who was attacked trying to help a woman who was being carjacked. And then you actually start to look at some of these, like murder per capita rates in a place like D.C. as compared to, Mexico City, some of the other most violent cities on the planet. And D.C. does not compare favorably. So, it's down, and in some categories, it's approaching pre-pandemic levels. But we still have this endemic violence in urban centers, and we also have defund the police politicians, despite that, ascendant. I'm talking about Mamdani in New York. I'm talking about this Katie Wilson chick who just took out in a primary the incumbent mayor, who was sort of a move towards the middle previously, compared to the previous mayor that let with the autonomous zones and the siege on Seattle. But now they're trending back in that Katie Wilson, Zoran Mamdani, Brandon Johnson direction. So how do police shake out in that environment?
Yeah, the sentiment from law enforcement, at least my colleagues and people I know and law enforcement officers, is that it's not getting any better, at least through the media and politicians. I mean, I saw Mamdani say the other day that, he would like to eliminate certain New York City police units, reduce police force, have less. Yet he just got a bodyguard detail that they've never given a candidate at his level before. And that's easy to say when you have 40 New York City police officers guarding you, right? That's really easy for him to say now. So, but I think the public's sentiment towards police has starting to rise. There was a recent Pew Center survey that said over 64% of American public are favorable for law enforcement, but it also said that politicians and media have not increased. It's actually declined. So, when you're being fed this garbage from our politicians, our elected officials, the media, police officers say, why bother? Like, honestly, here's what's happening. Dan, they're answering their radio calls. If there's any of your listeners think there's really any proactive policing taking place, self-initiated, why would they do that? They're not doing that. They're answering the calls that are given them.
What about the police?
What do we want?
What about the police and fire unions? I mean, as a political force, Katie Wilson in Seattle, the head of the Transit Riders Union, we know who pushed Brandon Johnson across the finish line, the government unions, SEIU, AFSCME, and the teachers. We know who is pushing Mamdani across the line, the Democrat Socialists of America, Muslims, and the public sector unions. And there's the Venn diagram has a lot of overlap between those three groups too, by the way. So it's the same story that's playing out in all of these urban centers. And, FOP tends to be a little bit more outspoken than the firefighters, but I'm not sure that either organization, either union is properly framing the issues and making the arguments that unfortunately an opposition party that doesn't exist is not making in response to what you have at the leadership level in these communities, in these cities.
Yeah, I don't think the unions are pushing enough, and that includes, FOP, Benevolent Association, includes, even the Chiefs Associations. A lot of times they feel that they don't want to take a side because a lot of chiefs and superintendents are put in their position by their mayors or village presidents, and if they're Democratic, they don't want to, offend that side. If they're on the Republican, they don't do that. So there isn't enough unity. I once mentioned that we should march when I was still active in Riverside. We should hold a protest down in Springfield, and they told me that that's unprofessional for police chiefs to do that, and they voted it down. That stuff's a bunch of baloney. We need to act and need to take a coordinated effort between the unions, the police associations, police chiefs. But I can tell you without a doubt, a lot are afraid to speak out because they just are afraid of losing their job. The only one I would say speaks out most often, Dan, is the Sheriff's Association because they're elected. And then the politicians can't threaten them with their jobs.
Yeah, but even that's a good point. But even them, even if that was a sort of a proxy for law enforcement generally, they're not omnipresent and aggressive enough, at least for my taste, given the environment that you're describing.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I can tell you that imagine what this is like. You have an ICE hold, and I ran across this in Riverside. You get an ICE hold. You have that individual in your custody, and you're transporting them to 26 in California, the county jail, and they would not honor that. They wouldn't even take the ICE paperwork from us. Mm-hmm. They wouldn't even take it. So when you drop your prisoner off for either first appearance court or it used to be bond court, it was like you were giving them a disease, like get that paperwork away. Like we're not allowed to even touch that paperwork here. And they were wanted for some pretty violent crimes, Dan.
Yeah, preventable crime is definitely a big part of the story, both with the Safety Act as well as with our imported friends from other countries. Tom Weitzel, retired chief of police, Village of Riverside. Tom, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Have a great morning.
You too. And Tom joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Tony Dreyfus, founder and president of Metropolis Coffee Company and a proud new customer of Signature Bank. We're a 19-year-old specialty coffee roaster located in the heart of Chicago. Some of your favorite restaurants and cafes serve our coffee. As a small business manufacturer, we understand the importance of working with the right bank, and that's why we made the move to Signature Bank. We were tired of the impersonal service that our large bank had provided. A friend referred us to Signature Bank, and their team was on site to understand our operations firsthand. They provided us the working capital to continue our successful business operations and to fuel our ambitions for innovation and growth. We now have the flexibility to grow at our own pace. That personal touch, you can't find that at a large bank, but we found it at Signature, and we can't thank them enough.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $257. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part? My guidance costs you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side. Your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidisciplined practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Coming up, 7:37, economist Stephen Moore joins us for our weekly Wednesday conversation. We'll talk a bit about what Trump had to say on CNBC about debanking personal experiences. We'll start there, 7:37, Steve Moore. Now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 71 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump is threatening a federal takeover of Washington, D.C. after a DOGE staffer was reportedly assaulted.
Police say Edward Korestein was attacked by a group of people outside his car earlier this week. President Trump posted what appeared to be an image of Korestein after the assault on Truth Social. In the post, Trump said crime in D.C. is out of control and threatened that if the city doesn't fix the issue, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city. 2 people so far have been arrested in connection to the alleged assault of Korestein, a DOGE staffer who now works at the Social Security Administration. I'm Mark Mayfield.
The House Oversight Committee is issuing subpoenas to the Clintons in connection with the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Besides the Clintons, former Attorneys General William Barr and Merrick Garland, as well as the former FBI Director James Comey, have been subpoenaed. The Republican-led committee has also subpoenaed the Justice Department to hand over any files related to the Epstein case, with the names of victims blacked out. This comes as the Trump administration tries to tamp down calls from the MAGA base for all the files to be released to the public, and after the Republican Speaker of the House sent lawmakers home before they could vote on the files being released. Tony Waterman, Washington.
News is a service of AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com, making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560 The Answer.
Scott Jennings sees the president shifting the country.
Louisville will no longer be considered a sanctuary city by the federal government.
That is the Democrat mayor of Louisville, Kentucky, Craig Greenberg. 6 months of Trump. Border crossings are virtually nothing. Deportations are up, and now cities like Louisville are starting to change their tune.
The all-new Scott Jennings Show. Weekdays at 1, right before Hugh Hewitt at 2 on AM 560. The Answer. Exclusive interviews, bold commentary, and behind-the-scenes insights into stories that the mainstream media won't cover. It's the Unshaken and Unafraid podcast with Joe Pags on the Salem Podcast Network.
You guys know better than anybody that you just can't compete on an equal level playing field with somebody of the opposite gender. It's just not fair. That's a fact.
Subscribe today on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, or at SalemPodcastNetwork.com.
I'm worried about Mom. She's having a tough time moving around the house.
Oh, I know. She still thinks she can do everything on her own.
Exactly, but I've been over there every day this week, helping her navigate the stairs, cooking meals, reminding her to take her medicine. I'm always nervous when I leave.
You know what? I admire you for taking care of Mom. But your family needs you too. And what if she slips and falls? A friend recommended the caregivers at Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. They service Cook, DuPage, Kane, and Will counties. They guarantee compatibility, and they'll conduct a free safety assessment of her home. Plus, they'll provide as little or as much care as Mom needs.
Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, offering both hourly and live-in care. Schedule a free assessment today by calling 331-281-0728. That's 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care, only better.
Is cremation an option you're considering for you or your loved one? At Catholic Cemeteries, we offer sacred, permanent places of rest where loved ones can be remembered, prayed for, and visited for generations. Too often, cremated remains are brought home, only to end up in closets, basements, or forgotten on shelves. Memorialization is forever. Honor their life. Preserve your legacy. Visit us today at CatholicCemeteryChicago.org to schedule a free consultation or call 708-236-5490.
Eggland's Best. The only eggs with more fresh and delicious taste, plus superior nutrition. Eggland's Best. Better taste, better nutrition, better eggs.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 16 minutes. Outbound, 14 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 26 minutes. Outbound, 29 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 27 minutes. Outbound, 23 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 31 minutes. Outbound is about 28 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 17 minutes. Outbound is 10 minutes. This report is sponsored by Dairy Queen. For crunch time and no time, get the DQ chicken strip basket with 4 seasoned 100% white meat chicken strips served with fries, Texas toast, and DQ signature country gravy. Get it delivered in the DQ app. Happy tastes good at participating locations. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with temperatures reaching a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. Mentioned this guy yesterday, but just a refresher. Daniel Goulden is part of the New York City Democrat Socialists of America Steering Committee, an august position. He was featured at the Socialism Conference 2025 that was held, where else? Chicago. And this is what he had to say about his good friend Zoran Mamdani, the presumptive next mayor of New York City.
Zoran is literally attempting to do what conservatives say, we want to do, which is provide gender-affirming care to anyone who wants it for free. And we're going to ship people, we're going to fly people in and pay for their hotel rooms. And we're going to do all of the Fox News stuff. We're getting ideas from Fox News. I want to go, hey, we'll do that. Thank you. But most importantly is we collaborated with the Zoran Mamdani campaign on his trans rights platform. And what we explicitly wanted to do was use the power of New York City to provide free gender-affirming care, and I say free in case insurance companies decide to boot us off, free gender-affirming care, not just to people in New York City, but across the country. When Zoran first kind of approached DSA leadership about running, his pitch was, he said, I'm going to get socialists to vote for me and I'm going to get Muslims to vote for me. With Zoran, we're in basically the best possible position to seize state power that we can be in because, we're like this, right? DSA has regular meetings with him, let alone his team. His policy director is my friend. I've been working with his campaign manager for well over a year.
Yeah, it sounds like they're pretty tight and fully aligned policy-wise. There was also this offering at that same confab, the Socialism, Democrat Socialism 2025 conference in Chicago. On the nuclear family, they went full Black Lives Matter. Well, of course, because Black Lives Matter was a neo-Marxist organization, too. Like the current neo-Marxist party that call themselves Democrats.
And on that revolutionary horizon, want to perform abortions in a church, but before it's all said and done.
The only real difference between marriage and prostitution is the price and the duration of the contract.
We can fight for family abolition. We can imagine family abolition because we have seen Black women do it. Because we have seen these...
Imagining family abolition. Remember, fully aligned with Zoran Mamdani inside his campaign. We know the experience of Brandon Johnson. I don't need to belabor that point. Katie Wilson just won the primary for mayor of Seattle. Same program. A good piece about Alan Kors. Alan Charles Kors is a wonderful academic, now a emeritus professor at University of Pennsylvania. I mean, almost 30 years ago, he wrote a book called The Shadow University about what was happening on college campuses you should pick up. But he makes the point that I've made many, many times on this show. He probably made it before me. I probably got it from him, and I just didn't even know I stole it. He laments that socialism has yet to be held accountable for the scale of its crimes. So he would say, he's not saying this, but he basically predicted that you would have Brandon Johnsons and Zoran Mamdani's and Katie Wilson's and Omar Fatah's and Brandon Scott's. And I could go on as you just go around the country and look at the big cities. No cause, these are Kors's words, no cause ever in the history of all mankind has produced more cold-blooded tyrants, more slaughtered innocents, and more orphans than socialism with power. He basically says that the problem is it will not be difficult for socialism to change its now quaint name a bit and revive government economic control into newly compelling political, economic, and ultimately cultural agenda. This is what he was writing in 2002, 2003. Wherever socialism is implemented, quote, its vision of the abolition of private property, economic inequality, and the allocation of capital and goods by free markets culminated in the crushing of individual economic, religious, associational, and political liberty. But the problem is when we don't teach and embrace liberal society, small l, voluntary exchange and free markets, which produce the greatest alleviation of suffering, the greatest liberation from want and ignorance and superstition, and the greatest increase of bounty and opportunity in the history of all human life, Course's description, we open a path that Zoran Mamdani can exploit, and he is. I mean, Course points out, well, it's pointed out in this piece about Course. I mean, good grief. He is talking about, and Brandon Johnson is efforting government-owned grocery stores because there was never a general reckoning for the agricultural deprivation under socialism that caused famines everywhere it was implemented. It's just remarkable, but it's going to keep happening until it's confronted straight away. And we just haven't done a good job of doing that. We haven't done a good job of confronting it straight away. It's always sort of a last minute, all hands on deck emergency response. Once a flim-flammer like Mamdani or Brandon Johnson is elected or is on the poise of being elected. We're too busy or we're too afraid to criticize people that have shrill and surprisingly small popular support until it metastasizes with overwhelming media coverage into general identitarian support, where someone can go into the race in New York City saying, all I need is socialists and Muslims and I can win. And then he has socialists and Muslims and at least a plurality, if not a majority, of Jewish likely voters in New York City because of the power of the media's blowtorch to turn him into something he's not, and to mute some of the statements he's made about violence just being a construct and basically from each according to his needs to each from each according to his means to each according to his needs, which Elizabeth Warren was standing next to him saying is the Democrat Party's message. There you go. Stephen Moores, economist, author of The Trump Economic Mural and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-author with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, Dan. Good to be with you. Well said. But people don't realize that the last, quote, great socialist leader of our time, of course, was Mao Zedong, who is, by the way, still on the currency in China. And this is a guy, you talk about government-owned grocery stores. They have those in China, by the way, and 50 million people starved to death.
Yeah.
Do you read about that in the history books?
Depends which history books, but yeah, I mean, it's right. That's the point of we lament this all the time. The point of government education, but also it's not just the government schools. It's just the quality of the dialogue and information sharing, just in the general economy, which should be so much easier in the digital age than it was previously. But it doesn't seem like it's penetrating, at least not in big cities.
You got to blame the schools because they don't teach. They don't teach real American history. They don't teach economics, so they don't teach common sense. But there's another factor at play here. So, we just last week came out with this votewithyourfeet.net website. People should check that out. You can just click on Illinois, and you can click on any other state in the country. It's a big map. You just click on Illinois, and you can click on, say, Arkansas. Do you think more people move from Arkansas to Illinois or Illinois to Arkansas last year?
Illinois to Arkansas. Yeah.
What about Illinois? More people move from West Virginia to Illinois or Illinois to West Virginia?
Oh, boy. That's tight. Those two states are usually pretty competitive, but I'm gonna give West Virginia the nod. More people move to West Virginia.
Yeah. And so my point is that Illinois, I think, lost population to virtually every other state, maybe not to New York, because New York's losing a lot of people too. My point is New York in the last 10 years, you ready for this, has lost a net 2.5 million people and a net $100 billion of income because of their crazy left-wing policies. So what is going to happen, and I pray it doesn't happen, I go to New York about once a week up from D.C. Because I have a lot of business to do there, and New York City, which, when I started this, going up there 30 years ago, New York City is the home of Wall Street, for goodness sakes. And Wall Street back then was vibrant. You go up to Wall Street, and it was like a scene from Trading Places, with the vibrant floor, people trading on the floor, et cetera, et cetera. Now you go to Wall Street, and it's kind of dead. It's actually kind of sad. And my point is, if New York elects this mayor, My prediction is Wall Street literally will move out of New York City, and it will be in Dallas, Texas, or it will be in Miami, or it will be in Tampa, or it will be in Austin.
Charlotte.
By the way, here's an amazing statistic. Do you know there are more financial services jobs today in Dallas, Texas than in New York City?
Interesting. Yeah.
It's amazing. So my point is, this is a really scary moment for New York because the rich will leave, and every time they leave, I mean, you should have learned that in Chicago when the Ken Griffin moved out and took $50 billion with him. That these things do substantial damage, and so it would be I think a crisis of the first order of magnitude if our empire city, New York, were to go into further decline. But that will happen. That will happen absolutely if this socialist who's passing out free things he wants to raise the tax rate on the rich by another 2 percentage points. Dan, do you know what the income tax rate is in New York City today? It's already 14%.
Yeah, I thought he wanted to go to 21, but maybe only 16. No, that's not bad. 16. Yeah, sure.
If you add the federal tax rate on top of that, you live in New York City, you get to fork over 60% of your money to the IRS. So this stuff does matter. It does affect where people live. And these blue cities like Chicago, like New York, like San Francisco, like Los Angeles, either going to have to change or they will continue to die.
I wanted to get your reaction to this exchange that Trump had with Aaron Ross Sorkin on CNBC yesterday, talking about debanking, just sharing the stories of what these big bankers, and I'm talking Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan Chase, I'm talking Brian Moynihan at Bank of America, what they did to Trump. Take a listen.
Well, they did discriminate. I had J.P. Morgan Chase. I had hundreds of millions of dollars in cash. I could see if they want to, if they want to do something bad because you don't have any money and you defaulted and they took people out. But I'll give you me as an example. I had hundreds of millions. I had many, many accounts loaded up with cash. I was loaded up with cash, and they told me, "I'm sorry, sir. We can't have you. You have 20 days to get out." I said, "You got to be kidding. I've been with you for 35, 40 years." They said, and I mean, I had all this. I didn't know what to do with it. And I went to, and you could ask him. Maybe he's not going to admit it. So I said, I was informed by my people that we have to get out of Chase Manhattan. That's Jamie and J.P. Morgan Chase. So I said, I can't believe it. Well, I was never in this situation before. I've never had anything like it. And it's not like, gee, you defaulted on a loan. I can understand that. That's different. But there's no default. I mean, there's nothing but cash. I have a really great company. And then what happens is I call up Bank of America routinely because when I was president, this was after I got out, by the way, I call up Bank of America routinely. And I speak to him and I speak to a couple of people, and they have zero interest. Brian was kissing my ass when I was president, and when I called him after I was president to deposit $1 billion plus and a lot of other things, more importantly to open accounts, which banks always like. They like accounts because they get interest-free, the overnights and things, there are a lot of reasons for it, but they like accounts. I had hundreds of accounts. And he said, we can't do it. No, we can't do it. So I went to another one.
We talk about reckonings, Steve, and we're talking about reckonings with respect to Russiagate and other matters. Right. What about the big banks?
Well, first of all, I did live through that in 2017 and 2018 and 2019 when the Russian collusion hoax was all the rage. And I used to go on CNN back then. That was my penance. And every night, people forget, virtually every single night for 18 months, the biggest story that the CNN covered was the Russia collusion hoax. They've never apologized. They've never. Look. Sometimes people in the media get a story wrong. I get it. But for 18 months, look, they believed it, Dan. Why? Because they wanted to believe it, right? They wanted to believe that this was a rigged election and so on and so forth. And so the banks, were debanking people. They were debanking people whose ideology they disagreed with. Now, this crisis has mostly ended. But my point is, why would these banks were actually putting ideology over their own financial interests. I mean, what kind of bank turns away a customer because they don't like their politics?
Right.
How stupid is that?
Right. And I mean, I come from free market perspective. So, I mean, if you don't want to take an account as a private enterprise, that's fine. Yeah, that's fine. But let's publicize this. Let's make sure we know everybody's views on this, and then to the extent that there is anything that they enjoy in terms of special privileges or deals with government, well, let's take those away too. I mean, I just, this idea that Jamie Dimon can always turn on a dime and change his sort of views and outlooks about people and things in politics to go where basically the winds are blowing at any given point without consequence.
Well,
Brian Moynihan too. I don't like it.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you a quick story. About 6 months ago or so, I was asked by Yale School of Management. They have a big CEO conference. It's a very prestigious thing up in New York, once or twice a year. And many of the Fortune 500 CEOs sent what was going on, and they gave me like 15 minutes. And I'm sitting next to the of American Airlines, and Larry Fink was there of BlackRock, and all these muckety mucks. Jamie Dimon was there. So I'm thinking, what am I going to say to these people? I've got 15 minutes, and I've got their attention. So I started my speech by saying, you people are so out of touch with real America. I said, you have no idea what's going on in real America. All this woke stuff is completely and you're out of touch with Americans. I said, I told them about that famous study we did of the top 1% versus the rest of America, the cultural elite. The cultural elite want to get rid of air conditioning. They want to get rid of fossil fuels. They want blah, blah, blah. And they want, the school boards to decide whoever you go to send your kids to school, not the parents, et cetera, et cetera. And then the last thing I said, you want to know what this has led to? I used the example, the now infamous example of the Bud Light commercial. Remember that one?
Yeah, Dylan Mulvaney. Right.
Yeah. And they took a brand. Anheuser-Busch took a brand that was worth $35 billion, and they diminished it to about half that amount. So with one stupid woke ad, they lost $20 billion. And all of the CEOs started nodding, and they're like, that's true. And so now my point is, after I gave that speech, some of them were ready to throw tomatoes at me because they don't like to be lectured. But I can't tell you how many of these CEOs came up to me afterwards and said, you know what, you're right. And so I do think we're turning the tide a little bit. And I think the awakening was what happened in the 2024 election, where, the left really, the CEOs really believe that this is a center-left country. It is a center-right country.
Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle, and one-man reckoning crew to corporate America. I love it. Steve, thanks as always. Appreciate it.
I'm going to steal that line.
Yes.
Very good. Okay.
Thanks.
Talk to you. By the way, my good friend Justin Nolan said he played golf with you, and you were 3 over par, so that's a pretty good score.
Yeah. Oh, boy, that's just very good. Yes.
You never invite me to play.
Next time you're
I'm usually 3 over 100.
That's and Justin is somewhere in between. So next time you're in town, let me know. Give me a heads up, and we'll get a game out at Olympia.
Let's play at Indian Hill Country Club.
Oh boy, even better. Boy, see if
right.
Mr. Haverkamp is available. All right, thanks, Steve. Steve joins us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life. Don't miss In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday mornings at 7:30. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His world each Sunday morning right here on AM 560. The Answer. AM 560. The Answer.
All right, Dan Proft here. Coming up at 8:08, we'll talk trade and tariffs and perhaps a little bit of Middle East politics, too. He's got range. Professor Richard Epstein, University of Chicago, Professor Emeritus, joins us at 8:08. It is now 8 o'clock on AM 560 WIND Chicago.
President Trump thinks the FBI might have to get involved. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, getting Democratic lawmakers who left Texas back to the state.
You can't just sit it out. You have to go back. You have to fight it out. That's what elections are all about.
As Republican Governor Greg Abbott files a lawsuit trying to remove the state House Democratic leader from office, Democrats have dug in, blocking a congressional redistricting vote in Texas that could give Republicans 5 more House seats in the 2026 elections.
I will liken this to the Holocaust. People are like, well, how did the Holocaust happen? How was somebody in a position to kill all them people? Well, good people remain silent.
But soon after telling that to the Don Lemon podcast, State Rep Jolanda Jones regretted it.
Jones told Fox News Digital that was a mistake and I apologize for it. And, quote, Trump is coming from my community and I get emotional about it and make strong statements. But that was going too far and I retract that comparison. But former President Obama has stoked these emotional fires, calling the Texas GOP's plan, quote, a power grab that undermines our democracy.
Fox's Jackie Heinrich. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff is in Moscow talking to Russia's leader, trying to get Vladimir Putin to stop the war in Ukraine ahead of President Trump's Friday Russia deadline to agree to a ceasefire or face new economic sanctions. Israel is considering escalating the war in Gaza and occupying it to get Hamas to release the remaining hostages.
My brother doesn't have time anymore. It's so urgent that he looks like a living skeleton.
Ali David just told that to Fox. His brother Eviatar was seen in a video Hamas released showing him emaciated and digging his own grave.
It cannot be more clear that they use human beings as bargaining chips.
He also blames Hamas for starving Palestinians in Gaza, for stealing food. The U.S. and Israel are working to send and distribute more food in. It'll be like Alligator Alcatraz, the illegal immigration detention facility in Florida. Democrats want closed. A new one in Indiana called the Speedway Slammer. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem says it'll house those ICE arrests.
Then we will send them home. They don't belong in this country. They never should have been allowed in under the Biden administration.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. Governor Pritzker is considering a possible mid-decade congressional remap in Illinois. Speaking Tuesday alongside Texas state representatives and DNC chairman Ken Martin, Pritzker says redrawing Illinois congressional districts isn't something he wants to do, but everything is on the table in a fight against GOP redistricting efforts in Texas.
If they're going to cheat, then all of us have. If they're going to cheat, then all of us have to take a hard look at what the effect of that cheating is on democracy. And that means we've all got to stand up and do the right thing.
Democratic Texas lawmakers have been in Illinois since Sunday to prevent Texas Republicans from voting to redraw a map that would give them 5 more seats ahead of the 2026 midterms. This has some scratching their heads saying, isn't this the same thing? And hasn't the state always been pretty much favored towards Democrats? The last member of the ComEd 4 is sentenced. A federal judge ordered Jay Dodry to serve 1 year in prison. He was convicted in a bribery scheme connected to former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan. Dodry and 3 others were convicted of conspiring to influence Madigan to benefit ComEd. He will also receive 6 months of suspended release after he serves his sentence. He's expected to surrender to authorities on September 30th. News is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland's state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes, but now time for the Signature Bank Business Beat.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Walt Disney's earnings are stronger than expected, though its revenue for the quarter, the money it takes in, only matched forecasts. It made 15% less from its TV networks. Disney Plus and Hulu added subscribers. Spending was up at Disney's parks despite new competition from Comcast Epic Universe, located near Walt Disney World in Orlando. McDonald's shares up more than 2.5%. Earnings and revenue were stronger than forecast in the recent quarter, and sales rose. Traffic to restaurants is down, but customers are buying more per visit. The return of the snack wraps and the Minecraft Happy Meal helped. Uber technology shares are down 3%, even though Uber's earnings were upbeat. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
Hugh Hewitt is over the Epstein files.
There's a lot left to be released about Epstein. None of it has anything to do with Donald Trump, and there is no list. We would have had that leak long ago if it was there, because it was the Biden DOJ. There is nothing left to know of interest to me about Epstein. Nothing. Zero.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 2, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
We couldn't decide if we needed in-home care for Dad.
Right. Just some help here and there with bathing, organizing his meds, a walk through the neighborhood.
Oh, exactly. But everywhere we looked, we had a 4-hour minimum. It was more care than he needed. And it didn't make sense to spend extra for it.
Then we found Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. No minimum hours. We were shocked.
Now a caregiver stops by once or twice a week for just an hour or two to help with the small things that make a big difference.
And Mom loves the visits. It's not just help. It's companionship.
At Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest, we understand that not every family needs round-the-clock care. We serve DuPage, Cook, Kane, Kendall, and Will counties. We conduct free in-home assessments, and we guarantee compatibility. Call Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest today at 331-281-0728. Again, that's 331-281-0728. And tell them AM 560 sent you. Senior Helpers of Naperville Southwest. Senior care. Only better.
Attention all listeners, financial planners, CPA, and divorce attorneys. In 2021, there were over 420,000 licensed loan originators. Today, that number is down to 93,000. That's a reduction of over 75% of licensed loan officers within the past 4 years. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender who's still in business. While mortgage companies have been closing and hundreds of thousands of loan officers have left the business since 2021, Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever and would love to earn your business. Let's review. Hundreds of mortgage companies have closed down and over 327,000 loan officers exited the mortgage business, while Team Hochberg has expanded and is stronger than ever. If you'd like to work with experienced mortgage professionals who'll appreciate your business, call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
Hey, it's Mike Rowe, and if you want to do business with a company that actually stands for something, switch to Pure Talk. I did. Sure, I appreciate being on America's most dependable 5G network with unlimited talk and text for just $20 a month. But what I really appreciate is Pure Talk's commitment to our military and to our skilled workforce. That matters to me. Save 50% off your first month when you dial pound 250 and say keyword Mike Rowe. Pure Talk, a wireless company that actually stands for something.
You're great at protecting your own personal information. You probably even use things like two-factor authentication, strong passwords, VPN. But as much as you try to be in control of how your information is protected, there's lots of places that also have it. That's why LifeLock monitors millions of data points every single second for identity threats. If your identity is stolen, a LifeLock specialist is going to help solve the identity theft issues, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% off your first year with a promo code Beck at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 17 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 34 minutes. Outbound is 31 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 39 minutes. Outbound is 35 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 34 minutes. Outbound is going to be about 26 minutes. On the Dan Ryan inbound from 95th to the Burn Interchange, 19 minutes. Outbound is about 11 minutes. Traffic is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% off on average. See if you qualify today at almostfreeteeth.com, making smiles great again. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with a high reaching 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here. President Trump on CNBC yesterday asked about 2028 and always enjoys the opportunity to troll the hysterics in the D.C. press corps, so he did again.
Unless I run again.
Are you going to run again? The
No,
Constitution.
probably not.
Okay.
Probably not.
And you're not going to fire Jay Powell. We'll go all talk about all the stuff that.
Hey, Becky, I'd like to run. I have the best poll numbers I've ever had. You know why? Because people love the tariffs and they love the trade deal, and they love that countries. And they love that foreign countries aren't ripping us off anymore. For years, they ripped us off, friend and foe.
Oh, they love the tariffs. He'd love to run again, but that is trolling, too, because Ducey, that would be Peter, asked him about 2028 and who the front runner was, and Trump, in a less jovial and more analytical moment, had this to say.
The heir apparent to MAGA is J.D. Vance.
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with J.D. in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job, and he would be probably favored at this point.
So let's dispense with this Trump running in 2028. The Constitution prohibits it. And so, yeah, got it. Okay. Get to the other part. The tariffs that have been imposed. People love them. Nobody's ripping us off anymore. We're getting these trade deals done. The greatest economy. You know the argument. But there is this court case that is running concurrent to the trade deals that are being negotiated, or frameworks for deals that are being negotiated and celebrated. The U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit heard oral arguments last week in the case, and there's no indication when it will issue a decision, and so the tariffs are in force pending that decision. And regardless of the outcome, since you've got a dozen state attorneys general combined with some small business interests that are suing the federal government, this is likely to go to the Supreme Court, regardless of how the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit decides. And at issue here is whether or not the IEEPA gives the president the power to do what he has been doing, the imposition of tariffs and the negotiation of these trade deals. This is the International Emergency Economic Powers Act that he's operating under, which provides the president the power to address, quote, unusual and extraordinary, unquote, threats during national emergencies. Trump argues that trade imbalances, declining manufacturing power, and the cross-border flow of drugs justifies the tariffs under this statute. This is why you hear him invoke, Mexico or Canada not doing enough to stop the flow of fentanyl into this country, in addition to talking about trade deficits and so forth. For more on that matter, maybe a couple others, pleased to be joined again by Professor Richard Epstein, James Parker Hall Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus of Law and senior lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thanks for being with us.
It's always a pleasure to be with you, Dan.
So the IEEPA, what is your view about whether Trump is acting, whether or not that statute gives Trump the authority to do what he has been doing?
Well, I've been strongly opposed to the president on this issue from the beginning. The key feature, you have to find out what counts as an emergency. And what Trump says is everybody is ripping us off. And so therefore there's been a 100-year emergency. First of all, he's crazy to assert that everybody's been ripped off and then somebody goes back to the same deals over and over again. They're losing money. And the best explanation is they're not losing any money. If you look at any particular transaction, the buyer wins and the seller wins. Otherwise, they don't make it. And somebody who's a buyer in one transaction starts to be a seller in the next transaction, often to somebody else. And so the deficits are no information about anything with respect to the way in which markets work. What they do is there's a net deficit coming into the United States. It's mean there's more investment here. It doesn't mean Chicken Little or the sky is falling down. So he's 100% wrong on the question of that. And the use of the language about ripped off seems to indicate that though everybody in a private transaction is making money, somehow when you put all these pluses together, you come up with a giant money. Secondly, he got a very bad reception when he went to the court. They essentially said, look, we do not understand how it is that a president can completely disrupt an entire system that has been put together by tariffs, done by the president, done by Congress, under very orderly rules. You're just a wild card in this particular situation. And while you may have some degree of discretion on how to respond to an emergency, including perhaps the use of tariffs, although it's been done only once, you have no discretion whatsoever to announce that something is an emergency when it turns out that it's not an emergency. And what he has to do is to explain why these are rare and unusual circumstances, the language of the statute, when it's been going on since 1934. I don't think he could do it. Now, the argument on the other side is that Trump just gets complete discretion on everything. And the argument is that, in his judgment, means he could do whatever he wants in his own will. This has been a constant source of confusion and concern. But in your discretion means you have to basically make a good faith judgment of what's going on. And his arguments, frankly, are so ludicrous and so improbable that they can't do it. The second point is everybody doesn't love tariffs. I can't tell you the number of people I talk to in business who said, I can't get my entire line to work because I need a key component from a foreign supplier, and nobody's making this stuff or sending it to us because of the anxiety. And so what happens is you have many, many businesses which are in limbo. They don't know what they're going to do now for the holiday season and so forth. And to say that all these people are rejoicing in the fact that America is going to be made worse off by a set of tariffs, which is so insane in terms of their structure, is simply not a plausible argument.
All right, let me offer a argument in defense and see what you think. So,
all right,
so first of all, let's just set aside whether the tariffs are good public policy or not, because that's not material. What's material here is whether the president has the power, right?
Yeah, go ahead. Well, the two are related.
Okay, but well, they're related in terms of purpose and effect, I suppose. Yes, but I mean, but fundamentally, this is this a power that resides within the executive branch under these national emergencies or unusual and extraordinary threats, and then you get into the definition of what's an unusual and extraordinary threat. So let's say that the argument is, well, one, the fentanyl argument he makes, which is imperiling the lives, these cartels and drug traffickers imperiling the lives of Americans. And secondly, he would say, well, we don't have rare earths. We don't have the ability to manufacture life-saving drugs the way that we need. The dependency we have on foreign countries for things that are integral to our national security. You could argue energy as well. We need to be energy independent. And basically, the argument would be that sort of like the War Production Act, where a president can come in and repurpose manufacturing infrastructure for specific war needs. I'm repurposing our trade policy for the specific needs of providing for the energy independence, the border security and security from cartels and drug traffickers, and the necessity we need to be self-sufficient when it comes to medicines, and that is all in America's national security interests, thus the unusual and extraordinary threats that I'm addressing.
Well, I think that's completely incorrect to look at the particular cases. Now, one of the things that the president did was to impose a 39% tariff on Switzerland. Now, is this related to border security with methanol? Is this related to fentanyl in any other kind of way? Mm-hmm. Is this related to the production of Earl oil? It's related to none of these things. So what does the president do? It's absolutely counterproductive. If you want to make sure that you get rare earths from China, the last thing you want to do is to get into a war so that they announce they're not going to deliver anything to you. And in addition, the way to handle these things is domestically. So you're talking about the energy stuff. I'm pretty much in agreement with what Trump has done in trying to unleash American industry. You get rid of domestic regulations, you could produce huge amounts of stuff, you could export lots of stuff and so forth. So there's utterly no reason to use a system of tariffs which don't achieve the end when they're domestic ways in which to deal with these particular problems. So I think, in effect, what's happened is he announces there are a series of problems in the world, but there's absolutely no causal connection between the tariffs on the one hand and the amelioration of those things. Everything that he's talking about is something done domestically better. So if the United States has a lot of rare earths underneath some land which is rich with other kinds of natural virtues, are you trying to make an accommodation so you can dig it out? And he's willing to do that because he's completely reshaped correctly, in my view, that stuff. So there's no causal connection whatsoever between what he's doing and what's happening. If anything, the causal argument goes the other way. Well, everything he has done has made things worse in all of those dimensions.
Well, so let me continue to play devil's advocate here. I feel like Professor Kingsfield a little bit. What is the likelihood that the Court of Appeals could split the baby, or ultimately even the Supreme Court split the baby and say, well, in some of these circumstances, your Switzerland example, that's clearly not a case of an unusual and extraordinary threat. But in other matters with other countries, perhaps Mexico, perhaps China, there's a more plausible case to be made there, and have the high court ultimately provide some more definition to what constitutes an unusual or extraordinary threat, and essentially suggest that that some of what Trump has done fits the definition or some sort of test they come up with, and other things he's done does not.
Well, the correct answer to that is to strike all this stuff down and say to the president, you know what the requirements are. You come up with a second set of tariffs that will do this. I don't think any court wants to go through every one of these particular tariffs and deal. I think what they want to say, start again from square one, and if you have these objectives, do it. And if there is some reasonable relationship between what you want to do and an identifiable majority, you can. But what you cannot do is to make the ripping off argument when it turns out that every one of these transactions is positive sum. The buyers win and the seller win. And the reason we have international trade agreements instead of unilateral action is that the deficits all sort of cancel out when it's this market, the next market, and the next market. I'm a winner in one and a loser in the other. But there are very few people who sell back in same quantities from the people whom they buy, which is why the local deficits are important in particular cases, but utterly irrelevant for national policy. And there isn't a single shred of evidence that deficits have the kind of effect that he wants. The man lives with his own economics, which he's not allowed to have. And so what he has to do is come up with some rather specific stuff. And the question is, how much deference do you give then? I think the answer is a respectable amount of deference if he's narrowed the playing field so it's just not wildly overclaimed. Understand that everything he has done is so far beyond what was done in the one case where tariffs were imposed, where you had Iran engaged in all sorts of illegal activities, and then you're trying to figure out a response. But in this case, he can't charge any single country with whom we did business with any kind of illegal activity, nor any of the transactions that are talked about illegal. Everything that's been going on here is perfectly copacetic, except for Trump's intervention.
Well, it seems to me, though, I mean, there certainly have been indictments against Chinese Communist Party apparatchiks, Chinese nationals, for intellectual piracy and the like. I mean, so
absolutely correct.
Yes. Yes, and so it seems to me like So on the one hand, you're talking about the microtransactions, the transactions between voluntary parties, economic transactions, how it actually works. On the other hand, the framing of this, and this is where I think a lot of people get lost or engage in this conflation. The framing of it is that, America is a corporation that trades with France, which is a corporation, that trades with Britain, which is a corporation. And I agree with you, that's not the way to look at it. But I'm just saying, so you have this sort of macro framework that countries are like big companies. They're monoliths, and that's how economies work, or at least that's how trade policy should be made at that level, rather than, I'm trading individual entrepreneur in Chicago with an individual entrepreneur in Paris, and that's how the international economy actually works.
Well, the international economy does not work on these aggregates, and the simplest way to say it is the entire economy would come to a fall if France had to sell every good made by French manufacturers, and the United States had to sell every good made by American manufacturers.
Right.
The WTO was put together for one reason only. They realized that they're not multilateral deals. As the primary mechanism, you'll never get orderly reduction in tariffs. And the stuff that was done first under the GATT, the General Agreement of Tariffs and Trade, and then into the WTO, resulted in a remarkable improvement of this situation. The person who's sending it back in the other direction is Trump. And let's go with one simple point. Before he started with these shenanigans, the basic trade tariffs were around 2.5%, 3%, which gets lost in the wash. Now he's got them up to 15% everywhere, and the higher the tax and the more discriminatory the tax, the greater the negative impact on the economy. It hasn't been hit yet because the simple reason is other things he's done have been right, and because people don't know whether or not he's going to blink yet again. But if he really wants to make good with this, you're going to see a massive contraction in business in the United States, because the most important thing to understand about Trump is he hasn't given a single explanation as a matter of public theory why we're better off, other than his slogans about being ripped off all the time, which is just slang.
Well, he has. You're talking. He's all this money that we've realized from the tariffs, and it's so much.
That's not a correct argument. You make money from tariffs, but you lose money in terms of the production of the American firms that don't have the goods they need.
Well, I understand, but you have to allow him to make the arguments. He is making that specific argument, and so much so that Senator Josh Hawley's proposed legislation for a $600 rebate based on the tax money realized from the taxes, the tariffs imposed. So I understand your argument on what the net impact is, but that's an argument in counter to the argument that he's making. He's also making the argument that I'm getting all this direct foreign investment that I'm negotiating from. From
two arguments against.
Well, wait a second. Wait. So I'm bringing in all this direct foreign investment. I'm lowering trade barriers for American sectors, even as I'm increasing them maybe on some foreign trading partners. So there are some net benefits for.
There always are some net benefits.
Well, okay, but
but not net benefits. So he raises, let's say, $30 billion in tariffs a month. If the stock market goes down in that period by $1 trillion, it's the world's worst investment.
Yeah, but there are other variables why the markets move.
To figure out whether or not there's some kind of exchange between the two elements. The tariffs are a detail in terms of their revenue impact, that is the gain. What happens is the distortion in the markets is going to cost much, much more money for many more firms. And the longer this goes on, the more difficult it's going to become. You just look at one company after another saying, we can't do what we need to do because we can't get the stuff. Mr. Vance has suggested, quite foolishly, I might add, we'll build up American capacity. The time it takes to start a new facility to compete with an existing one is 3 or 4 years. And in the interim, what are people supposed to do? He cannot simply say that here's a huge net loss, and I can show you a little gain over here that justifies the rest of it. And that's what he's trying to do in this particular case. And it will boomerang. He's saying that people, in fact, like this situation. He has no evidence whatsoever for that. Every business person I talk to has exactly the opposite reaction. I have gratuitous uncertainty, which is a cost, and I have no idea how I'm going to be able to get out of it because I don't know what this man is going to do this week or next week. And if he drops this whole thing, the market will go up. If he really starts to enforce it, there'll be retaliation by other tariffs on other parties. Businesses will start to go down. This is an integrated world economy. in which most of our outputs are dependent upon foreign input. He doesn't seem to understand that. And what he's doing is proposing a road to ruin by using his slang about everybody being ripped off in a series of prosperous transactions. That cannot be an argument for what he's doing. It is really lamentable. The former Trump used to talk silly, but didn't do it. The current Trump is talking silly and acting silly.
Professor Richard Epstein, James Parker Hall, Distinguished Service Professor Emeritus of Law and Senior Lecturer at the University of Chicago. Professor Epstein, thank you for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure to do battle with you.
Yes, an honor. Thank you, sir. And Richard Epstein joined us on the Turnkey.Pro answer line.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Success is picking up extra shifts for your family. Now you want to be the boss. Success is getting your foot in the door. Now you want to take the next step. Success looks different to everyone, and University of Maryland Global Campus can help you reach your goals. And there's never been a better time to get started on your future. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start August 13th. As an accredited state university, UMGC has been transforming lives for over 75 years. With more than 135 undergraduate and graduate degrees and certificates, online and hybrid courses, personalized support, financial resources, and lifetime career services, achieving your dreams is more possible than ever before. Choose the program that's right for your career goals and get started on your next success. Get your application fee waived now. Classes start August 13th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donley Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donley Auctions. With their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions, they have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonleyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donley does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donley has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donley Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donley Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonleyAuctions.com.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gave Alice, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
AM 560, The Answer.
Coming up at 8:38, RealClearPolitics.com's national political correspondent Susan Crabtree joins us to detail a modest reckoning at Secret Service. Got to start somewhere. 8:38, now we check the headlines.
Good morning. It's 73 degrees in Chicago in the AM 560 The Answer newsroom. I'm Nikki Whaley. President Trump says he's working to make sure wildfires don't disrupt the 2028 Summer Olympics in Los Angeles. Speaking from the White House, Trump said Governor Gavin Newsom has to allow more water to flow into California from the Pacific Northwest.
I've been fighting with them for a long time about allowing the water to come down from the Pacific Northwest, essentially.
Trump also said California's protection of the Delta smelt has to stop. He blamed the efforts to protect the species for the devastating Los Angeles wildfires in January.
They have a lot of water. They send it out into the Pacific Ocean in order to protect the smelt. It's a little tiny fish.
Many homeowners are starting to pull their properties off the market as would-be buyers push back on higher home costs. According to Realtor.com, the rate of delisted homes increased by 47% nationwide in May compared to last year. Experts say the delisting surge is partially due to the overall expansion in active inventory. Home inventory hit a new post-pandemic high, and sellers aren't in as much of a rush to accept lower than their desired amount. News is the service of Anthony DeGrotto, your Chicagoland State Farm agent. His team will work to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Like a good neighbor, Anthony DeGrotto State Farm is there. DeGrottoSF.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560. The Answer.
Larry Elder explains what really happened in 2016.
That Russia interfered in the 2016 election in order to help elect Donald Trump. And then after Trump got elected, the narrative became Russia interfered with the election and successfully helped Donald Trump get elected. That's the issue here.
The Larry Elder Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Perhaps you're a collector, or perhaps all of a sudden you have a collection. Maybe it's an inheritance. How do you know what it's worth? This is Sean Thompson for Donnelly Auction. The market for antiques and collectibles is changing all the time. What is your collection worth right now? Well, I've got an easy way to find out. It's simple. You contact Donnelly Auctions with their worldwide audience of live and in-person auctions. They have a good idea of how to tell you exactly what it's worth at exactly right now. They're ready to put top dollar in your pocket. The bigger the collection, the better. Go to DonnellyAuctions.com and get the info on all things that they buy and sell to have an idea of exactly what Donnelly does and how much they need your collection. They have so many buyers, it's a great time to sell. Just simply make a phone call. Donnelly has traveled all over the country to pick up collections. Just call and talk to the people at Donnelly Auctions at 815-923-7000. Donnelly Auctions is your trusted partner in turning your collections into cash. DonnellyAuctions.com.
At University of Maryland Global Campus, we give our students credit where credit is due. Credit for deciding in the middle of rush hour traffic to go back and get their bachelor's and a promotion. Credit for managing 3 kids, 2 dogs, and a full-time job to pursue an MBA. And credit for serving in the military by day so they can study cybersecurity at night. For over 75 years, we've been helping students receive the credit they deserve. With more than 135 degrees and certificates, students at UMGC can use prior learning or relevant experience to earn up to 90 credits toward a bachelor's, and graduate students can transfer up to 12 credits toward their master's. At UMGC, you'll find everything from online to hybrid courses and lifetime career services to scholarship opportunities, making your education journey flexible, fast, and affordable. Apply now and save with no application fee. Classes start August 13th. Learn more at umgc.edu. Certified to operate in Virginia by Chev.
A large retail store just canceled a huge order, leaving MyPillow with a ton of extra MyPillows. But you know what? That's their loss and your gain. MyPillow is offering the Classic Collection for wholesale prices. Only $19.98 for a standard MyPillow. But it gets even better. For a limited time, they're going to offer the entire Classic Collection at wholesale prices. Get queen-size MyPillows for just $24.98. Upgrade to king-size for only $29.98. Get the body pillows for $39.98. And the multi-use MyPillows for only $12.98. So go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201 to take advantage of wholesale pricing and receive $100 in free digital gifts when your order is $75 or more. That's right. Get the standard MyPillow for only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call 800-489-0201 and use promo code LIBERTY. That number again is 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 15 minutes. Outbound, 17 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Burn Interchange, 34 minutes. Outbound is 31 minutes. On the Eisenhower, inbound from Wolf to the old post office, 39 minutes. Outbound is 35 minutes. On the Stevenson, inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 34 minutes. Outbound is going to be about 26 minutes. This report is sponsored by Straight Talk Wireless. Don't let data limits hold you back from being the GIF master in the family group chat. Switch to Straight Talk Wireless and get real unlimited data on a reliable 5G network. Straight Talk, available at straighttalk.com or Walmart. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now a quick check of your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Today will bring a mix of clouds and sun with a high of 87. Tonight, expect mainly clear skies with some humidity and a low of 71. Tomorrow, anticipate hot weather with a blend of clouds and sun. There is a chance of a thunderstorm in the area late in the afternoon with temperatures reaching a high of 90. I'm meteorologist Jason Caterina on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan Proft here, and we haven't gotten anything substantial in terms of a reckoning at Secret Service or with the intel and law enforcement agencies that were engaged in perpetuating the Russiagate hoax, or even with the handling of the Epstein files, but we're inching closer. We've got a grand jury out on Obama administration era officials as it pertains to Russiagate. By the way, as just an additional aside, which is an easy tangent, talking about Russiagate, naturally you think Adam Schiff, since he was one of the main perpetrators of the hoax. Now under criminal investigation for mortgage and bank fraud. Talked about that before, about his competing theories of where he is actually a resident and the implications when it came to housing-related transactions. He's under criminal investigation. So reported. And we have this story from Susan Crabtree over at RealClearPolitics.com about the Secret Service at the behest of Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson stopping the renewal of Kimberly Cheadle's security clearance. Well, you think someone who resigned in disgrace, you wouldn't need a senator to prompt it. You would just take the necessary action. This should be by acclamation. Should her security clearance be revoked permanently? Yes. Moving on. But it's never that easy. Susan Crabtree is the RealClearPolitics.com national political correspondent, co-author of Fool's Gold, The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. Susan, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me again, Dan.
So Kimberly Cheadle and has her security clearance been revoked, or is it just not been re-upped? It's a little... Seems like a little hazy to me whether there's been any definitive action taken from the report you issued, because you're getting sort of hazy responses from Secret Service.
That's right. I got no clear responses. Their statement to me was very vague, to say the least. It said that some directors weren't going to get their security clearances renewed. So I went back to Senator Johnson's office, who's the only one that I could get really on the record taking issue with this on Capitol Hill, if you can believe that. And he said, they contacted us the same day you contacted the Secret Service, and they told us that she was not going to get it renewed. So every 5 years, your security clearance needs to be renewed. She has been out of the Secret Service, resigned in disgrace last year after the Butler and her terrible, ridiculous testimony on Capitol Hill that had lawmakers fuming. So she resigned, and after they threatened to look at her phone, what was on her phone, and whether she was communicating with the White House, but yet she was asking to get her clearance renewed. Actually, it's a courtesy that the Secret Service has been doing for former directors for years, as a lot of our intelligence agencies have been doing for directors who reach that brass plum position they get it for life, from what I understand.
Right, until somebody intercedes, and this is part of it's below the fold, but it really is part of the explanation of the so-called deep state. When you have these same people that have access to classified information, and so thus have influence that they can peddle, and many do peddle it for profit, but also they can meddle. It's peddling and meddling. They know things they shouldn't know, and they can engage in, gosh, I don't know, fifth column actions against the current administration, like we saw play out against President Trump in his first term. So I mean, it seems like it's sort of an esoteric administrative issue, but it has real implications.
That's right. And we saw Donald Trump take action against John Brennan. James Comey, I guess, already said he gave up his security clearance. But those 51 intelligence officials, James Clapper included, and even John Bolton, his former NSA chief, they all got their security clearances revoked on January 21st, the day after Donald Trump was inaugurated, because he was sick and tired of that, what you just said, the peddling and meddling. They get to land very lucrative cable TV talk show gigs or Fortune 500 gigs with their national security clearance. And then they get to the top level people like Clapper, Brennan, and Comey were continuing to surveil and continuing to meddle in intelligence and skew it and politicize it into the Biden administration against Donald Trump. These are the accusations, according to DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard. So, yes, it's a problem, and Trump has nipped it in the bud as far as the top intelligence agencies, and even Perkins Coie denied that law firm because they played the role in paying for the dossier that actually Hillary Clinton paid for, but they were the pass-through. And so, but we didn't know, I didn't know, a lot of people, I think even many Secret Service agents that are retired and those that still are on the job did not know that you give the former directors distinct security clearance renewals for life. And so they stopped it only after I contacted them with Senator Johnson's opposition.
Right. Do the sensible thing only as a last resort. The Kim Cheadle, we've been talking a lot about Comey and Brennan and maybe Clapper and maybe others having legal exposure. And there's that grand jury that's out right now that I just mentioned for perjury, for conspiracy against rights, maybe, other legal theories bouncing around. But for going back to perjury, does the former Secret Service Director, Kim Cheadle, does she have legal exposure potentially here? Criminal legal exposure?
Yes, because according to a blistering new report by Senator Rand Paul, who chairs the Homeland Security Committee, he, on the anniversary of Butler assassination attempt, he issued a report that weekend that said she had perjured herself. And you already had Representative Paulina Luna saying this last year, that if she hadn't resigned, she was going to pursue contempt of Congress charges against her from her perjury to the House Oversight Committee. And I spoke to an aide on the House Oversight Committee, and they said they are still waiting to see they could still take action against her because of that perjury. She has denied it to the New York Times. But to me, the perjury was about denying assets to Donald Trump, and she's parsing her words, saying that she didn't deny assets. She actually added assets to the Butler rally. But there's, from what I understand, Director Curran, Secret Service Director Sean Curran, has the receipts, and he kept all the emails of his request for security assets denials for Donald Trump when he was the head of his detail during the presidential campaign.
Yeah, I wonder, I know we've talked about him before, and I know Curran, the current Secret Service director, has the confidence of Trump and was intimately involved in Butler in terms of his request being denied. So he knows, who some of the problems were and where some of the problems are in the agency. But I'm just trying to get, since you're so knowledgeable about the Secret Service, like what your handle is and how this is going. You know, well, you watch Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and who they were when they were on podcasts and radio shows previous, and you know how they've had to maybe color inside some lines they didn't want to color in so far in their roles at FBI. And I wonder, you know, as they're pursuing reforming those agencies ostensibly, trying to get like a stop, look, and listen handle on how it's going. And I would ask the same thing about Secret Service.
Yes, I just posted on this yesterday. I'm not so sure that he has the full confidence of Donald Trump from what I'm hearing rumblings of that in the last week, since both a mini scandal occurred that Donald Trump wasn't briefed properly about, from what I understand, about this agent wanted to take his Air Force wife on the trip to Scotland to smuggle her on, even though she wasn't supposed to be there on this C-17 plane heading to Scotland. And that really angered Donald Trump because he was asked about it by a friend of mine named Jeff Earl, who works for the Daily Mail, on Air Force One. And he really didn't have the facts at hand. And so he's very angry about that, from what I understand.
Being blindsided.
And blindsided, not briefed properly, and also this Kimberly Cheadle issue. It calls into question what's going on with Sean Curran. And then yesterday, I posted about there's internal anger among the agents. There's a huge retention problem, but they're not getting any briefing about the reforms from Sean Curran. They said it's this radio silence is killing me. That's what the meme was saying. And since I have learned that they do not, this is breaking news on your show, they have not received the retention bonuses that they've been promised, and they were supposed to receive them on Sunday. And they've been waiting for them, and many of the hardworking agents have not received them. So there's a lot of anger in the agency about that. And agents are headed to the doors. They're having an extreme brain and talent drain of the senior agents out the door to either retire, to the Drug Enforcement Agency, or to Homeland Security.
Well, that's interesting. That really is a tell. You know, about leadership too. I mean, you see recruitment hitting their recruitment in the armed services hitting their marks according to DOD. You see 80,000 people have applied to be ICE agents. I mean, which speaks to sort of what Tom Homan and that team is doing, and then you and I don't exactly know where FBI recruitment is, and then you hear something like this at Secret Service, and that speaks to, you know, like it being on the Chicago PD or the New York City PD. Yeah, this is not somewhere I want to be any longer than I have to be. It doesn't speak well of what's going on internally.
Exactly, that's exactly right, Dan. And this idea that they could promise them up to $50,000. I heard actually, for most people, it was 15% of their pay, so it wasn't as much as $50,000, but it was significant. And I asked Sean Curran on before the anniversary, about the days leading up to it, you know, how the retention was going. Share this with me, and share with me how you're dealing with all of these DEI officials. There were dozens of them at the Secret Service and across the federal government. But after Trump put out the executive order ending DEI at the federal level, what happened to these individuals? And they did not respond to my questions. They put out a press release, and the press release was very vague about the reforms they were making. And also, there's a big push to get them just to focus on protection. You're obviously spread too thin if you can't retain enough agents, and you're complaining about that constantly. That contributed to Butler, but you're focusing on counterfeiting still and things like EBT fraud. And child trafficking that is an overlap with FBI. So why don't you just focus on protection? And there's no talk of that in the Secret Service. It's very controversial because they don't like to give up their investigative responsibilities, from what I understand. That was a big recommendation from the Independent Bipartisan Review Board. And I asked about that. No response. They have not, Sean Curran has not given a press conference where you go back and forth with reporters. He has not been called up to Congress where you go back and forth with lawmakers. He has not had a hard-hitting interview. He's done one with Laura Trump, which was very light, and another one with Sean Hannity. So it's very short, these interviews. And so people are saying, what is going on in the Secret Service? Has there been a course correction? And if not, there should be, with scandals continuing to happen on Sean Curran's watch.
Susan Crabtree, RealClearPolitics.com's national political correspondent and co-author of Fool's Gold, The Radicals, Con Artists, and Traitors Who Killed the California Dream and Now Threaten Us All. Fool's Gold is the book. Susan Crabtree, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you, Dan. Thanks so much for having me again.
And Susan joined us on the Turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
I'm attorney Stephen Leahy. My father was a union iron worker, just like his father. But while he inherited his father's skill, he did not inherit his tolerance for taking orders from union bosses. He needed a change, something that was his, something where he could call the shots. So he started a janitorial company. His company cleaned grocery stores and airplane hangars, dentist office and construction sites, hardware stores and restaurants. As his business expanded, so did the complexity of managing it, especially the taxes. Preparing tax returns requires records, and Dad just never got accustomed to keeping good records. That was a mistake. It cost him his business. Initially, I followed my father and grandfather and became a union iron worker, third generation. I'm very proud of that legacy. Now I'm a tax attorney. I help business owners protect what they've built. Fighting back against the IRS is personal to me. If you own a business and have tax troubles, fight back. Go to fightbacknow.com. That's fightbacknow.com, or call 312-664-6649. Become a freedom fighter today.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country, with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
2815 Old Jacksonville, Springfield. CordellCordell.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
You know what really keeps me up at night? It's the criminals feel more and more bold. They have no fear of any consequences because there are none. So I did what anyone with a family should do. I called Goldilocks. They're not just some cookie-cutter security company. Goldilocks has been protecting Chicagoland homes and businesses for 4 decades, 40 years. And they actually listen. Their technician comes out to the house. He takes a look at what you need to make your house a smart home with a security system you can monitor from anywhere. It's built specifically for me and my family. Motion sensors, smart locks, cameras, monitoring, all customized. I don't trust anybody in Illinois to protect my family. I do it, and I did it by calling Goldilocks. I trust Goldilocks to keep my house, my property, and my family safe. Tell them Sean Thompson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months free monitoring with any new installation. Call Goldilocks at 708-899-5600. That's 708-899-5600. Or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
This is Joe Cordell of Cordell & Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is the largest family law firm in the country with over 35 years of helping clients navigate divorce. That does give us certain advantages, for example, in experience and resources. But being big doesn't mean less personal or less local. Our attorneys live and work in your community, and as neighbors, they understand the challenges your families face. If you're a guy facing divorce, remember, Cordell & Cordell, a partner you can count on.
2815 Old Jacksonville, Springfield. CordellCordell.com.
Millions of Americans take medicine like Ozempic and Zepbound. Many of them are overpaying by thousands of dollars a year. These GLP-1 medications for diabetes, weight loss, and more may not always be covered by your insurance, but GoodRx can help. GoodRx helps you save every month on prescriptions at over 70,000 pharmacies nationwide. Best of all, it's free to use. Check GoodRx to save on GLP-1s. Just go to GoodRx.com/GLP. That's GoodRx.com/GLP. GoodRx is not insurance, but can be used instead of insurance, including Medicare and other federal and state-funded programs.
AM 560, The Answer.
Here was a fun television bombing in the metaphorical sense. Our friend Alex Primetime Stein.
Have you been able to keep tabs on what's happening there? Can you bring us an update?
We just watched the speaker gavel out with a whole lot of anger, Kelly. Here's the state of play. Here's
MSNBC sucks.
Hey, how are you?
MSNBC sucks.
It really does. It is 9 o'clock, AM 560 WIND Chicago.
Dozens of Texas